Deep in the night, a train clatters along the tracks, its windows glowing. At 24, Akihito Machida lets out a long, weary sigh. Slumped in his seat, he looks exhausted after 33 straight days of work. The chaos of his office stays with him, but he clings to the thought of his day off tomorrow. He imagines an idyllic camping trip outdoors to refresh himself. Crushing fatigue starts pulling him into sleep. Sleepiness makes his eyelids heavy as he imagines finally resting at home. Consciousness fades into the blackness of a deep, dreamless sleep. The train's abrupt stop jolts him awake, and his eyes widen in alarm. Panic hits him as he realizes he's completely overslept and missed his stop. Alone on a deserted platform, he watches the train doors hiss shut and pull away. A cold wind cuts through the dark, empty station as he tries to figure out where he is. Looking up, he sees a weathered sign that reads Zoragi, a station name he does not recognize. Confused, he assumes he got on the wrong train because he was exhausted. Surveying the station, he feels growing unease at how completely unmanned it is. Shaking off the odd feeling, he grabs his phone to check his location. His heart sinks when his phone shows out of service, leaving him completely cut off. Finding no timetable, he steps outside to get his bearings. Entering a dark forest, he uses his phone's dim flashlight to see. 2 hours later, he sinks to his knees, utterly lost and without hope. Looking up, a bead of sweat forms on his brow as he realizes something is terribly wrong. From a distance, he sees a faint light at the mouth of a dark tunnel. Thinking it's an exit, he walks toward the light. Stepping into the cavern, his phone's light barely cuts through the heavy darkness. A strange electronic chime sounds, and he looks at his phone, confused. While he wonders if he hears the tide, a blinding light erupts before him. A powerful blast erupts from the tunnel and knocks him off his feet. The world blurs into light as he hurtles through space. Arriving in a new place, he is disoriented and mutters that this must be a lie. On a rocky cliff overlooking the sea, he is shocked that it is now daytime. Alarmed, he looks down and sees his suit has turned into sturdy outdoor gear. Spinning, he searches for the tunnel he just exited, but it has disappeared. A hard pinch on his cheek and the sharp sting prove this is not a dream. Watching the crashing waves, he faces the terrifying truth of his situation. Behind him, a sound is followed by a soft, hesitant voice. Startled, he jumps and lets out a yelp as he turns around. He sees a strange, floating pink object shaped like a drill. He spots a stunning girl in an ornate dress with golden twin tails. Completely captivated, he thinks she is an incredibly beautiful girl. A young woman steps forward, concerned, and asks if he is all right. Coming out of his daze, he bows deeply and apologizes for staring while he was lost. With a kind smile, she reassures him that his reaction is understandable after what happened. Her ship was wrecked in a storm, she says, and she washed ashore here. Akihito is stunned to learn he's talking to a real shipwreck survivor. He tries to explain he came through a tunnel, but she looks at him, confused. Aware of how crazy he sounds, he scratches his head and struggles to find the right words. Suddenly, she remembers her manners and realizes they haven't introduced themselves yet. Bowing gracefully, she introduces herself as Olivia of the half-payment marquisate. Introducing himself as Akihito Machida, he assumes her noble title is part of a persona. When Olivia asks where he's from and he says Japan, the name sounds completely foreign to her. She apologizes for not knowing, and he thinks how kind she is. He asks her if she knows where this island might be. She said she was traveling from the Legman Kingdom to marry the Prince of Nissel. Fantastical names like Marquisate, Kingdom, and Prince leave Akihito dizzy. Laughing, Olivia points out they are both in the same predicament, and Akihito finally realizes the truth. Horror rises as he realizes he has somehow wandered into another world. His mind instantly jumps to a familiar trope, looking for the promised cheat skills. A dramatic internal breakdown consumes him as he mourns the absence of any goddess to grant him powers. Olivia eases him back to the present and suggests they search for other survivors. Now thinking in fantasy terms, he wonders whether ideas like jobs and skills exist here. She confirms they do and proudly says her job is Holy Knight. He retracts his remark, surprised that the delicate-looking girl is in a physical combat class. She says it's easy to check his status and encourages him to try. Nervous, he closes his eyes and says, "Status open." A glowing translucent screen appears out of thin air, startling him. He stared in disbelief at the single word listed for his job, camper. Staring at the screen, he is completely confused about what a camper job means. Checking his status, he notes his name, unique role, and 5 starting points. Exploring the skill tree, he sees a list of abilities he can unlock with points. A tab labeled Camp Item Exchange catches his eye, and he wonders what it does. Reading his skill details, he finds that he earns points every day and levels up by camping. Tapping the Item tab opens a huge catalog of camping gear and gets him excited. He weighs spending his 5 points on skills or on items. Olivia leans in, smiling, and asks whether he has figured out his job. Keeping his status screen visible, he says he appears to be a camper. Puzzled, Olivia admits she has never heard of that profession. He explains with enthusiasm that camping is about enjoying nature and cooking outdoors. While he talks about sitting by a campfire under the stars, Olivia watches with sparkling eyes. Sheepishly, he admits that all his knowledge comes from watching videos online. She urges him not to be so modest, sensing his potential is greater than he believes. She clasped her hands and gave him a bright, confident smile, sure he would become great. Reeling from the force of her smile, he thinks it could be deadly. When she asks about his skills, he gets flustered and thinks she must have a prince as a boyfriend. Apologizing, he says he hasn't yet allocated any of his skill points. She tells him that how he spends his points will shape his whole life here. Looking at his screen again, he realizes the power of gaining 4 points every day. As they set off, he spends 1 point to raise his basic physical strength. They walk through a dense forest as sunlight filters through the tall trees. Beneath the trees, twisted roots and thick undergrowth tangle across the forest floor. Despite a long search, they find no sign of anyone else. They still haven't found anyone, he says, as Olivia begins to stagger from exhaustion. Noticing her struggle, he tells her not to worry and that he will get them water. When she asks whether he can use water magic, he just points to his item exchange menu. With a dramatic flash of light, he pulls a large water container from his menu. A brand new 20-liter water tank filled to the brim appears at his feet. Proudly, he shows her the spigot and says this is the incredible power of a camper. Olivia beams and gratefully accepts the offered fresh water. The smile on her face freezes as a sudden, crucial realization hits. Turning to him with a sheepish look, she asks if he has a cup. Akito's triumphant expression shifts to pure shock at his simple oversight. Akihito carefully weighs the cost of a cup against his future needs. Practical Olivia says she'll drink straight from the spigot. The spigot is opened, and a precious stream of clean water begins to flow. Leaning in for her first drink, she is splashed as gushing water sprays everywhere. Struck by the powerful stream, the noble woman immediately chokes and sputters. Embarrassed, she pleads with him to look away as he offers her a freshly summoned cup. He wishes he had summoned the more versatile Sierra cup from the start. Now fully recovered, Olivia marvels at what she thinks is a legendary skill. Akito explains he traded points rather than using a real storage skill. She insists his ability is extremely rare, found in only 1 out of every 30,000 people. Akihito is astonished to discover that his humble skill is regarded as legendary in this world. Excitedly, he explains that his item exchange ability extends far beyond water. He's proudly showing the catalog of modern camping gear available to him. Olivia is speechless, stunned by the vast possibilities he offers. The power of his camper job amazes her, a concept entirely new to her. Akihito feels a flush of pride, not used to receiving such high praise. His anxiety about a job that felt pointless starts to give way to confidence. With renewed purpose, he vows they will meet this challenge together. Moved by his sincerity, Olivia gently asks whether he would be her friend. Without hesitation, he asks her to just call him Akihito. A firm handshake sealed their new partnership and friendship. Dusk falls and they know it's time to prepare for the night. Akihito picks a clearing for their campsite, a new experience for Olivia. He fears the sheltered noblewoman will be scared to sleep outdoors. Olivia is thrilled, not afraid, by the adventure of camping. Assigned to gather firewood, she rushes into the woods with great enthusiasm. A loud commotion comes from the forest as Olivia gathers the wood. As he waits, Olivia calls to him from the trees. Effortlessly, she returns carrying a log far too large for an ordinary person. Stunned, Akihito watches her hold up the massive log with incredible strength. He gently explains the wood must be smaller to burn properly. Olivia understands his instructions, smiling with cheerful determination. She snaps the enormous log in half with her hands, the sound a sharp crack. He stares in disbelief, struggling to make sense of what he just saw. Softly, she explains it is just a basic holy knight skill, barehanded blade. He privately calls her the drill princess and wonders about this world's nobles. Though shocked, he finds he doesn't dislike her incredible strength. A sudden rustle in the nearby undergrowth breaks the quiet. Akihito spins around, his senses on high alert after the sudden noise. A massive wolf-like creature bursts into the clearing, frightening Akihito. Olivia calmly calls the beast a devil rat, shocking him. She moves in front of him to shield him and warns that it has a deadly bite. With her eyes closed, she chants, drawing in brilliant holy energy. Her eyes snap open as she speaks the final line of the incantation. Akihito watches in awe, bracing for a powerful blast of divine magic. Without magic, she lunges and obliterates the monster with a single punch. He's stunned by the sudden, brutal display of raw strength. Olivia bows deeply to apologize, leaving Akihito completely confused. She laments that the branch she used as a weapon broke on impact. She blames her lack of experience, while he points out the shattered wood will make perfect kindling. He says the fine, dry kindling she made is perfect for starting a fire. Dejection quickly gives way to delighted understanding. She praises his superior knowledge, and he awkwardly denies it. This encounter proves the grim truth that monsters exist in this world. Standing in the forest, he fully accepts that he's in a fantasy world, realizing he urgently needs his own weapon to survive. Now that the kindling is ready, the next step is to light the fire. Akihito confidently says he'll take care of starting the fire. To make a single point, he summons a simple disposable lighter with a triumphant grin. He explains how the lighter works, and Olivia immediately assumes it is a magic item. He asked her to put more of her well-prepared kindling on the fire. With energetic, comic enthusiasm, she stacks the wood into a huge pile. A single click brings the flame to the tinder. The fire roars to life, and they cheer together at their success. A deep satisfaction fills him, something long missing from his corporate life. As the adrenaline fades, Olivia becomes somber and looks distressed. Her mention of the betrothal leaves Akihito flustered and apologetic. Awkward silence settles as Akihito questions his emotional response. Focusing on their situation, he summons his status screen. He knows he can't expect Olivia to stand guard against monsters all night. He knows keeping them safe right now matters more than food. He steels himself, knowing he must spend his last points to protect them. Olivia watches the crackling flames, lost in thought. Turning, she catches his eye, her face soft in the firelight. Smiling serenely, she admits she still had fun despite everything. The unexpected confession leaves him completely off guard. She credits him for her unexpected enjoyment of their difficult day, reflecting on the day's incredible events, from monsters to making camp. A quiet understanding appears in his eyes as he looks at her. Watching the comforting fire, he feels the same peace. Quietly, he admits he felt the same about their day. He smiles sincerely as he agrees with her. They enjoy a quiet moment of shared understanding and happiness. He studies his two remaining points, his mind made up. Committed to protecting their fragile peace, he knows which skill to choose. Olivia notices his sudden shift in demeanor and studies him with a questioning look. Using his final 2 points, he unlocks the base camp blessing skill. Slamming his hand on the ground, he names the clearing their campsite. A brilliant wave of light expands outward, forming a protective barrier. Standing tall, he vows to embrace his new life and enjoy his adventure. Settled in their new sanctuary, they plan for the next day. Just beyond the light, pairs of predatory eyes watch them from the darkness. His skill alone keeps the unseen creatures in the forest at bay. Their small, glowing camp is a beacon of safety in the vast wilderness. The flag marks their territory and symbolizes his new identity and purpose. Once they are safe, a more ordinary problem becomes apparent. Suddenly, Akihito clutches his stomach and realizes how hungry he is. He remembers how chaotic and grueling his workday was before he arrived. He is desperate for his daily points to solve their looming food crisis. He thinks of Olivia, knowing she is equally hungry. With the campfire dying down, Olivia calls Akihito's name in a nervous voice. The flames are getting smaller and smaller, she points out. Akihito turns, worried about what will happen if the fire goes out. Olivia's eyes widen with terror as she imagines the suffocating darkness. Seeing her tremble, he realizes she must be afraid of the dark. Stammering, she says anyone would be scared in a forest that creepy. Akihito gives her a warm, reassuring smile and says it will be okay. His gentle expression leaves her briefly speechless and surprised. When the flames are weak, he says they can add small twigs. He asked her to gently lay a few small twigs on the embers. Her hands gently place kindling on the last glowing coals. A sudden whoosh sends the fire roaring back to life, bright and strong. Bolivia celebrates as Akihito declares their success. She praises his impressive camping skills and is amazed by the result. Playfully adding more wood, she vows not to be defeated by the fire's powder. Laughing, she rubs a bit of smoke from her eyes. Akihito watches, relieved to see that her spirits have lifted. Noticing she looked tired, he suggested they rest now. Olivia suddenly lines toward him, her demeanor changing. She officially says she is the prince's fiancée and will sleep nearby. Akihito is completely baffled by her sudden, strange declaration. Dramatically, she says she cannot possibly use her hyper or a sword. Slyly smiling, she thinks being his girlfriend could be fun. Akihito panics and keeps insisting he doesn't have those thoughts. She apologizes for the joke, and he tells her it's okay. Relieved, she smiles, calls him a good person, and he feels oddly guilty. Akihito gathers a bundle of dry grass to make beds for the night. Both lie down on separate makeshift beds of leaves. Akihito hears her soft giggle and looks over with a questioning glance. He asks what's so funny, and she admits she finds the whole thing strange. Even though stranded and hungry, she feels a spark of excitement. Smiling brightly, she says this is her first truly free night. Her sincere words strike a chord with the overworked salaryman. Agreeing, he realizes it's been a long time since he felt so unburdened. Looking up, his eyes widen with sudden, deep awe. He stands captivated by the breathtaking star-filled night sky. Smiling, he thinks how rare it is to have this view all to himself. The next morning, sunlight pours through the forest canopy. Akihito sits up and stretches, while Olivia sleeps soundly nearby. Breathing in the fresh air, he thinks how great it is to wake up at a campsite. He opens his status screen first to check his points. A grin crosses his face as his special skill grants him 4 new points. He decides to wait and save his points until Olivia wakes up. Next, he checks their precious water supply in the tank. Tapping the container, he feels relieved to find it completely full. Olivia calls his name as he examines the spigot. Sitting up, she rubs the sleep from her eyes and wishes him a good morning. Akihito is briefly stunned to see her, without her signature drill hairstyle. Flustered, he quickly looks away and pretends to check his status again. He tells her the water has been refilled and she can use it. When she's ready, he says he'll make their breakfast. He scrolls through his skill tree and finds the camp food knowledge option. He imagines all the delicious meals he could make if he had the ingredients. Deciding against it, he knows it's too risky without any food. Now fully dressed and styled, Olivia tells him she is ready. Fully restored to her noble bearing, she dazzled Akihito. Momentarily stunned, he watches her snap back to her usual self. Dismissing his own hunger, he promises to get them a meal. He uses the food gacha to grab something they can eat right away. Tapping the screen, he looks for something that needs no cooking. Pay 1 point and a small white cooler box appears. He and Olivia lean in, holding their breath as the lid pops open. There are 2 convenience store rice balls, 1 tuna mayo and 1 salmon. They sit down in a cajita, and a cajita notes how delicious they look. Olivia examines the strange triangular object and asks whether it is food. Trying to take a bite, she wonders how to eat it without utensils. Akihito stops her quickly and shows her how to open the plastic wrapper. She watches closely as he demonstrates the correct technique. Brimming with anticipation, they get ready to take their first bite. Cautiously, Olivia samples the unfamiliar bowl of rice. Akihito takes a bite, his eyes widening with pure delight. They both say at once that the simple meal is really delicious. Tears came to his eyes because he'd never tasted an onigiri this good. Olivia loves the savory filling and the crisp seaweed. Akihito finishes his meal, grateful but wishing for one more. Smiling warmly, he listens as Olivia asks if she can have another one. After breakfast, he says it's time to start their day's activities. Turning toward the coast, he states their first objective. A tall column of smoke rises from the signal fire they built. Unfamiliar with a signal fire, Olivia watches. Akihito says it could alert passing ships to their position. Next, he outlines their other goals, searching for people, food, and water. Additionally, he says they need to wash their own clothes. Rubbing his shoulder, he admits he's desperate for a bath after 2 days. They press deeper into the dense, rustling forest. Olivia steps forward and confidently tells him to leave it to her while he struggles with vines. Unleashing her Vance skill, she blasts a perfectly clear path ahead. Amazed, Akihito listens as Olivia coyly calls it a lady's grace. Leading the way cheerfully, she marvels at the power of her skill. Her elegant boot lands firmly on the freshly cleared forest floor. They keep walking, yet the woods are silent, and Akihito hears nothing. Olivia closes her eyes and activates her hearing enhancement skill. Her senses widen, letting her hear sounds well beyond the normal range. She focuses on a distant sound, her ear twitching. She confirms she can hear running water and points them toward it. Moving quickly, they follow her through the trees. They burst into a clearing and find a clear, fast-moving stream. From the bank, Akihito sees the stream is unnaturally wide. Taken aback, Olivia hears him suggest the river's course might be artificial. They decide to follow the stream, staying cautious of the rough terrain ahead. Deep in the forest, Akihito senses an ominous presence and reminds himself to be cautious. He warns Olivia they must stay alert because they do not know what might be hiding here. Following the stream, they see something unusual in a clearing ahead, and Akihito wonders what it is. Several tree stumps lie neatly cut, and he realizes someone has been working here. Olivia notes that felled trees have been used to form a dam across the river. She spots another clearing over a small rise, and Akihito confirms he can see it. Both watch, their faces showing surprise and wonder at their discovery. A clearing opens on a quaint cottage nestled in a grove of giant whimsical mushrooms. Olivia says it looks like a fairy's house, and Akihito adds that it's too small for humans. It could be the home of gnomes from storybooks, she says excitedly. Akihito realizes the house's resident must have cut down the trees. The cottage door opens with a loud creak. Akihito narrows his eyes, where they must stay on guard against whoever is inside. When the door opens, Akihito instinctively pushes Olivia behind him to protect her. A small bipedal cat in clothes with a satchel steps forward, looking equally surprised. A creature says that something has appeared, and Akihito is stunned to see a talking cat. From the mushroom grove, the small cat person watches the two humans cautiously. Akihito wonders what this upright creature really is and whether it should be called a monster. He concludes from its appearance. It may just look like a cat, but still. The cat calls them a strange sight, and Akihito thinks to himself that that's his line. A larger cat steps forward and tells the first cat to calm down. The new cat with a patched face calmly recognizes the newcomers as human. The first cat asks if they are really human, while Akihito and Olivia watch. Realizing they can talk, Akihito chooses to be friendly and offers a cheerful hello. Tama, the first cat, is delighted because she has never seen a human's smooth face before. Akihito asks about a transaction, and Buchi, the patch cat, starts to explain. Both are stunned to learn that a ship visits this island once a month. Akihito's hope soars, and they might secure passage on that ship. Relief brightens Olivia's face, and she is sure they can now reach the capital kingdom. Buchi asks whether they have come to trade, and Tama adds that humans bring tasty food. Akihito explains they were shipwrecked and washed up here, surprising the cats. Buchi understands, and Tama offers sympathy for their terrible ordeal. Relieved, Akihito senses these cats are kind and may be willing to help them. He asked what this place was called, and the two cats happily provided an answer. Buchi and Tama introduced themselves as members of the Minion tribe from Marvel Island. Akihito is stunned to learn the cats are sacred beasts, and this is their holy land. He asks if anyone else is here, but Buki says the traders left days ago. Akihito thanks him and realizes the ship will not return for some time. Relying on his camper skills, he keeps his resolve to survive with Olivia until then. He asks Buchi and Tama where they can find food. Buchi describes how the minions fish, forage, and hunt, and trade their goods for glowing stones. Akihito asks about the stones, and Olivia identifies them as valuable magical stones. The cats say rare food can also be found in the caves, but they stop there. Buchi issues a grave warning that terrifying monsters lurk deep in the caves. Akihito is shaken by the news and knows he must be very careful. Buchi offers to show them the fruit groves, and Akihito gratefully accepts. They follow the two minions out of the whimsical mushroom village. The group moves through the forest's thick, rustling foliage. Olivia and Akihito walk along a clear path, grateful for all the help. The cats also point out a nearby waterfall where they can bathe. Their kindness deeply moves Olivia, and soothes her heart with their warmth. Akihito says the ship won't be back for a while. Olivia's mood darkens. Going back is necessary to protect her family's name. She explains that her fiancé, the Prince of Nissel, may think she ran from the engagement. She can't let such a misunderstanding weigh on him. Akihito leans in as a new thought begins to form. He notices Olivia is not very enthusiastic about her upcoming marriage. A loud rush echoes through the trees ahead of them. They reach the magnificent blue waterfall Bucci had described. Akihito says he wants to wash his hair and body, shocking Olivia. Surprised, she asks if he really plans to bathe right here, and he confirms it. Deeply embarrassed, Olivia cannot stand the idea of bathing outdoors in full daylight. Akihito smiles and gently explains that staying clean helps prevent sickness. Despite understanding his reasoning, she remains hesitant and flustered. He reassures her that it will be fine and mentions her engagement to the prince. She suddenly declares that if anyone spies on her, she will force them to kill themselves. Taken aback, Akihito explains it's just something her mother used to say. With a smile, he tells her to wait because he has something that will help. For one point, he redeems a towel set that includes towels, toothbrushes, and razors. Olivia holds a toothbrush in awe and asks what items a camper can get. Grinning, he explains he can only summon items related to camping. He says he'll wait behind a large rock, and she gratefully takes the towel. Vigorous splashing echoes from the calm pool at the base of the waterfall. Olivia slowly dips her hand into the cool, clear water. She never expected to bathe outdoors, she admits. Sinking into the water, her long hair fans out, and she sighs at how wonderful it feels. Akihito sits with his back against the large rock formation, waiting patiently for her. He smiles to himself, pleased that she seems to be enjoying her bath. He can't imagine how anyone would wash her iconic drill hairstyle. A funny image of her struggling with a washboard and a stick flashes through his mind. From the forest, Olivia calls out that she's ready. Akihito turns as she comes out from behind the rock and apologizes for the wait. Smiling, he says it's his turn to bathe now. Now that her hair is down, Olivia says she'll go hunting while he washes. Her sudden, unexpected declaration startled Akihito. Blushing slightly, he agrees and tells her to be careful on her way. Asked if she's really going hunting, she confirms with a bright smile. Now that her stamina is back, she says she can no longer rely on him. He protests, saying she has already helped him a great deal. Cutting him off, she says firmly that she will provide the meat for dinner. Overwhelmed, Akihito lets her take charge and says they'll meet at base camp. Her happy smile shows agreement, and he smiles back, trusting her. Waving a cheerful goodbye, she leaves while he wishes her well, amazed that she can also hunt. His clothes and boots lie on the shore as he prepares to enter the water. Splashing cool water over his head, he sighs with deep relief. Leaning back, he says it feels wonderful to finally be properly clean. A loud, sharp rustling comes from the bushes beside him. Startled, he whips his head around, trying to tell if it's an animal or a monster. Panic hits him as he realizes that without Olivia, he is a totally helpless salaryman. Akihito is submerged in the waterfall pool and nervously scrolls through his status screen. He finds that a proper axe for machete costs 5 points, far more than he has. A sudden rustle in the bushes jolts him, a sharp reminder of the constant danger. His priorities are food and laundry, especially if Olivia comes back empty-handed. As he dries off, he wonders if a noble like Olivia has ever had to do laundry. Thinking about her family's troubles, he imagines how anxious she must be. Now dressed, he admits how much Olivia helped and that he couldn't have survived on his own. Determined, he vows to ease her worries any way he can before the rescue ship arrives. Thinking about the ship makes him uncertain. He can't even find his way home. He shakes off his worries and focuses on finding the fruit grove. Time is short, so he must find food before nightfall. He pushes through the undergrowth, sure he's close to the spot Tama described. Entering a clearing, he looks up in awe at a single magnificent fruit tree. The fruit high in the branches looks delicious. He recognizes them as mangoes. Standing at the base of the massive trunk, he considers how he can reach them. A quick look at the smooth bark tells him climbing is impossible. Searching for a tool to help, he is distracted by a sharp noise overhead. A loud squawk startles him, and he looks up with wide, startled eyes. He looks around, unsure if he really imagined being insulted by a bird. The harsh squawk rings out again, confirming he wasn't imagining it. Shocked, he sees two large, imposing birds wearing bandanas perched on a branch. Staring in complete disbelief, he tries to grasp what kind of creatures they are. One of the birds puffs out its chest aggressively to assert its dominance. Dropping to a lower branch, the creature fixes him with a menacing glare. He notices the bird calling him a small fry and feels annoyed by its tone. Puffing its chest out defiantly, the bird chirps as if looking straight at him. Akihito is stunned by both the insult and the creature's extremely foul mouth. The birds taunt him from their perch, offering their fruit to the small fry. They start eating the mangoes in front of him, making loud, satisfied sounds. Trying diplomacy, he politely asked if they were willing to share. One of the birds looks down its beak at him with a smug look, asking what they get out of it. He says he has nothing to give now, but promises to repay their kindness someday. The birds listen with skeptical looks, plainly unmoved by his empty promise. The smug bird smirks and says it might consider his request if he begs. Akihito is stunned by the creature's awful personality, his plan, and the shambles. He realizes they don't plan to help and only want to mock and humiliate him. Seeing no point, he decides to ignore the obnoxious bullies. Fed up with being ignored, the bird tells him to get lost if he doesn't want the fruit. Walking away, the birds fly overhead, taunting him as small fry. They jeer at him for expecting help and tell him to starve to death. Defeated, he decides it's better to risk the food grab than deal with them. A sudden sound in the woods startles him, and a voice asks what's wrong. Buchi asks if he came for mangoes and notices he looks tired. Relief brightens Akihito's face when he sees his friendly minion acquaintance. He recounts his frustrating encounter with a pair of incredibly foul-mouthed birds. Beauty says the culprits belong to the Albert tribe, another group of sacred beasts. Buchi admits they are known liars with bad tempers, and Akihito fully understands. When Buchi asks if humans can't climb, Akihito admits that's just his own weakness. Buchi sighs, accepts it, and gets ready to fix the problem himself. Buchi scampers up the tree with cat-like ease as Akihito cheers him on. Buchi returns wearing a jacket, overflowing with a generous haul of ripe mangoes. Akihito thanks him profusely and promises to repay him, but Buchi has another idea. Buchi says he wants to eat mat and clams, and Akihito echoes the unfamiliar name. Listening to Buchi describe the long, thin clam, Akihito realizes he knows how to catch it. Akihito promises to fetch the clams, and Buchi cheerfully tells him to take his time. Fired up by his new mission, Akihito sets off for the sea at once. Filling his jacket with mangoes, he decides to drop them at camp first. Waves crashing on the shore let him know he has arrived at the beach. Walking along the wet sand, he sees the vast, sparkling ocean stretching out before him. Scanning the ground, he quickly spots the telltale holes of the clams. Crouching, he remembers a TV show that showed how to catch them with salt. Suddenly, he realizes the first thing he needs is salt. A status check shows he can spend his last 2 points on a bag of salt. Choosing not to buy it, he finds a more resourceful and sustainable solution. Using his last 2 points, he summons a sturdy metal cooking pot from his menu. Holding the pot aloft, he announces he will make his own salt from the sea. Drawing on his old science lessons, he builds a small makeshift furnace from rocks. His calculation shows that 2 liters of seawater should yield about 60 grams of salt. On his first try, lighting the damp kindling fills his face with thick smoke. Coughing and sputtering, he waves the accurate smoke away from his face. Wiping his burning eyes, he wishes he had a 1-point fire starter to give Olivia. Realizing the kindling he gathered is too damp, he will have to find more. Frustrated, he sighs as he realizes this will take a very long time. Slumping to his knees, he feels defeated and sure he's letting Buchi down. Thinking about Buchi's kindness, he hadn't expected this favor in return. Determination steals his gaze as he refuses to give up. His fists clench with a burning desire to repay his friend's kindness. With new energy, he runs back and forth to the forest to gather more firewood. Tirelessly, he tends the fire for hours and boils pot after pot of seawater. He tells himself he will definitely succeed in making the salt for his friend. At last, after a long ordeal, he watches the water thicken as salt crystals form. Triumphantly, he holds up the pot, revealing a small, hard-packed pile of salt. Tasting a small pinch, he finds it salty but delicious and decides to be patient. Exhausted, he collapses onto the sand to rest after his hard work. Gazing at the ocean, he thinks about the simple pleasure of making something himself. Deciding to wait, he will gather the clams tomorrow because it's getting late and Olivia will be back. Back at camp, he finds Olivia pale, her hair limp with exhaustion. Her defeated, unwell appearance leaves him stunned and wondering what happened. Rushing to her side, he calls her name and asks what is wrong with her drills. Looking down in shame, she apologizes repeatedly for failing in her hunt. He reassures her calmly that she doesn't need to apologize and it's okay. She says she came upon a deer, but because it was a holy night, she couldn't kill it. Akihito tells her not to be so hard on herself, aware of how tough her situation is. He gives her the mangoes he got from Butchai to try to cheer her up. He says they can eat one now and save the rest for breakfast tomorrow. Starting to peel one for her, he notices she may not be used to doing it. To show her, he takes a big, satisfying bite of the juicy fruit himself. His eyes widen with delight as he says it's the most delicious mango he's ever tasted. Olivia watches him, his enthusiastic reaction briefly lifting her sadness. Holding out the mango, he urges her to try the incredibly delicious fruit. Olivia makes a soft sound and takes a cautious bite of the mango Akihito offered. Wide-eyed, she whispers that it is delicious. By the fire, she looks at him and offers her most sincere words. Akihito notices she still seems down and lacks her usual spark. He chews thoughtfully, trying to figure out how to cheer her up now. His expression hardens with resolve as he decides to catch many clams to lift her spirits. One ominous drop of rain splashes on the dry ground beside his foot. Another drop touches his cheek, and he wonders if it's starting to rain. Suddenly, the sky opens, and a torrential downpour begins. Ikido calls out to check on Olivia while she shields herself from the stinging rain. A loud hiss as the heavy rain instantly puts out their precious campfire. Akihito tells her he'll summon a rain shelter and asks her to wait a moment. He quickly scans the menu and remembers an item that costs only 1 point. Flourishing a large blue tarp, he says it will keep them dry. He grabs a sturdy branch to use as a makeshift tent pole. Struggling to set up the shelter, he realizes the fire has gone out. Knowing the darkness will only make her mood worse, he is suddenly startled by a sound. Olivia lunges at him and clings to his shirt, holding on tight. Akihito freezes, his face a mask of confusion at her sudden action. Olivia presses her face into his chest, hiding from the world around them. He leans over her trembling form, panic in his voice as he asks what is wrong. Huddled in the rain, Akihito holds her and feels her hand tighten on his shirt. Surveying the dark, stormy clearing, he is completely bewildered by the situation. A sudden jolt makes him realize that something is terribly wrong with Olivia. Looking down at her with deep concern, he asks again what happened. Feeling the intense tremors racking her body, he asks if she is all right. A choked whisper slips out as she murmurs about the suffocating darkness. He finally understands that her fear is not the rain but the darkness itself. Guiding her under the tarp, he notices her fear is unusually intense. Reassuring her, he says everything will be all right now. He steadies the shelter, promising he's right beside her. Waiting anxiously under the tarp, he sees no sign the storm will stop. Peeking inside, he finds Olivia still huddled and trembling uncontrollably. He watches her tremble, his face showing deep helplessness. Clenching his fist in frustration, he feels useless facing her pain. Suddenly, a strange warmth and a surge of energy spread through his whole body. He wonders what this new power is and if it is what he suspects. A flash of insight shows him he has leveled up from camping. With his points replenished, he assures Olivia that everything is okay now. Paralyzed by fear, Olivia keeps trembling with her hands over her face. A solar-powered lantern worth 2 points appears in a bright flash of light. Holding out the lantern, he apologizes for taking so long to get a light. Slowly, Olivia looks up, her tear-filled eyes widening at the comforting glow. Smiling gently, he tells her she can rest knowing the light will not go out. Tears of gratitude shine in her eyes as she looks at his kind face. Setting the lantern beside her, he provides a steady beacon of safety in the darkness. By morning, the storm had passed, and the sky was bright and clear. Sunlight streams through the canopy as water drips from the freshly washed leaves. Akihito stretches his arms wide and feels refreshed after a night's sleep. Standing tall, he says the weather is clear and today will be a good day. He notes that the lantern helped Olivia calm down and fall asleep. Watching her sleep, he wonders if she has trauma connected to the dark. He holds back from prying and waits until she is ready to tell him. He promises that while she is on the island, he will keep her smiling. Recalling his points, he prepares to use them to help her, but is interrupted. A new screen appears showing a skill point roulette he can spin after leveling up. He realizes he gets 1 roulette spin every 2 days of camping. Pressing the start button, he gets ready to try his luck. The wheel spins fast while he hopes for a large number of points. Determined, he shouts and hits the button to stop the spinning wheel. The wheel lands on 19 and he cheers, bringing his total to 24 points. Using his newfound wealth, he buys the camp food skill first. Soft light surrounds him as he successfully unlocks the new ability. He cheers again after unlocking Pro of Preparation, making him a skilled cook. With this new skill, he can properly prepare any game Olivia brings back. He uses his remaining points to buy camping supplies for Olivia. He wants her to be happy, so she never has to feel that scared again. Olivia still sleeps soundly, curled into a ball for warmth. Dawn finds the campsite calm, the fire crackling gently in the morning light. Olivia wakes up deeply embarrassed and apologizes for her inappropriate behavior. Akihito says good morning as she peeks out of the shelter. He tells her not to worry about it and asks if she feels okay. Pulling out a surprise, he reveals a brand new 10-inch tarp he bought to cheer her up. Pointing out the tarp's magic glow, he suggests they build it together. Olivia feels deeply moved when she realizes he bought these things just for her. He starts by making breakfast from leftovers and his food gacha. The gacha dispenses a box of instant clam chowder powder. He summons a full outdoor cookware set to cook a proper meal. Fascinated, Olivia watches him pour the strange powder into bowls. He pours hot water from the kettle, steam rising invitingly. He hands her a bowl and tells her to stir it well and enjoy the pleasant aroma. She takes a small, cautious sip of the warm soup. Her eyes brighten with pleasure as she whispers that it is delicious. Eyes closed, she savors the warm, soothing soup. Akihito watches her with a warm, gentle smile, glad to see her at peace. Feeling refreshed, Olivia says she's ready to set up the tent and will do the work. Pleased to see her spirit has returned, Akihito agrees to start. Akihito shows her how to tie the tent ropes as they work together. The new experience thrills Olivia, a novelty she was never allowed. Akihito pictures a life where she is forbidden from cooking, cleaning, or dressing herself. A sharp pang of sympathy makes him see how stifling her life must have been. One final pull finishes the tent, a proud accomplishment for both. In awe, Olivia whispers that it's the first tent she's ever built. Akihito looks at her with quiet understanding and affection. He suggests they go to the beach now to try digging for clams. They reach the shore as gentle waves lap at the sand. Nailing, Akihito says the first step is to find a small hole. He shows how sprinkling salt into the hole coaxes the clam out. A razor clam shoots out of its burrow in the sand with a whoosh. Akihito snatches it quickly and holds up their first catch in triumph. Akihito proudly holds up the clam he just caught. Encouraging bright-eyed Olivia, he asks her to try it. Instantly captivated, she says clam digging is great fun. Darting across the sand, she snatches clams with surprising speed. The game stops when they discover the salt is gone. By his estimate, their small catch will not get them far. Olivia turns to him, her resolve hardening. Declaring she'll just dig, she unleashes a massive blast of power. Dozens of clams fell, leaving Akihito stunned and wide-eyed. The task is finished and the pot is filled to the brim. They had more fresh razor clams than they expected. Olivia is thrilled they can now properly thank their minion friends. Olivia goes to fetch the minions, while Akihito prepares the clams. He applies his proof of preparation skill to the task. With practiced skill, he cleans every clam perfectly in an instant. Sitting, he waits for the others to return to camp. Olivia comes back with a thrilled Buchi and Tama in tow. Smiling, he shows them the massive haul of fresh clams. He modestly gives Olivia all the credit for the catch. Buchi arrives carrying an unexpected gift, a large block of butter. Akihito suggests Olivia try cooking the clams. Not having cooked a meal before, she hesitates. Taking a deep breath, she agrees to give it her best shot. The sizzle of clams and the scent of butter fill the air. A small panic hits her, but Akihito calmly reassures her. A delicious aroma fills the air, leaving the minions waiting eagerly. Nervously, she brings out the finished clams, sautéed in butter. Hungry minions waste no time digging into the feast. They all react at once with a single cry of pure delight. Timidly, she asked for their verdict, and their response was overwhelmingly positive. Thomas thanks her sincerely for making such a wonderful meal. Visibly moved, Olivia is not used to such heartfelt praise. Akihito encourages her to try one of her own dishes. Hesitantly, she takes the first bite of the dish she made. Sudden, unexpected emotion floods her when she tastes it. The simple, delicious flavor brings tears to her eyes. Akihito sees her crying and asks what's wrong. She wipes her eyes quickly and insists she's fine. She says she's surprised at how good her first meal tastes. Akihito gives her a warm, gentle smile. He urges her to forget her noble duties and be free. Living freely feels like a revelation to her. He assures her he will keep her secret. She realizes she can do simple things without fear of judgment. She realizes she can be herself. He stands firmly behind her new freedom. His kindness and sincerity move her deeply. Gratitude fills her heart as she looks at him. Flashing a brilliant smile, she thanks him for everything. Her radiant smile makes his heart miss a beat. He returns her warm smile and says he feels the same. They enjoy a quiet moment of true happiness together. The minions comically misunderstand what her tears mean. She explains, but they find her reasoning hard to believe. They praise her cooking and ask for another meal soon. Feeling more confident, she gladly agrees to cook again. Relief comes to Akihito when he sees her so happy and confident. She laughs with pure, unburdened joy. At the joyous party, everyone keeps asking for more food. Late that night, a strange sound comes from the shoreline. A huge silhouette rises from the dark ocean waves. A sea lion beast can watch its camp from a distance. The next morning, Akihito wakes up refreshed. Last night's clam party is a fond memory for him. Checking his status, he sees 9 points available to spend. At last, he decides to unlock a combat skill. Olivia greets him while he thinks about his new skill options. She hands him a warm cup of freshly boiled tea. He outlines his plan to learn to use an axe. Olivia agrees and says she can handle the swordsmanship herself. They agree that covering for each other's weaknesses is an effective strategy. A quiet partnership forms between them. Plan set, they turn to breakfast. He knows one banana won't be enough to keep them going. Activating the food gacha, he gets a container of potatoes. Olivia eagerly offers to cook again under his guidance. Proudly, she shows the potatoes she washed, now sparkling clean. Energetically, she chops the potatoes. Watching the pot, she grows excited as the potatoes start to boil. He adds the last bit of their salt and Bucci's butter. This simple, delicious butter potato breakfast is ready. The fork slides easily into the perfectly cooked potato. Both take a bite and enjoy the taste. They share a simple meal in a peaceful moment. Akihito says he is craving some meat or fish. Olivia vows to get meat for dinner. She hurries off to hunt while he wishes her luck. Moved by her example, he decides to go fishing himself. At the rocky shoreline, he gets ready to fish. Crouching by a tide pool, he holds a bucket. He notices several small crabs and fish in the clear water. He's worried the creatures might not be safe to eat. Running through his skill tree in his head, he plans his next upgrade. A strange presence makes him lift his head from the water. He notices a sea lion beastkin watching him from a rock. He still remembers his bad experience with the birds and remains wary. Trying to be friendly, he carefully calls out to it. The sea lion gives him a quick, dismissive look. It turns away completely and ignores his greeting. Just as he's about to give up, it makes a sound like it wants to listen. Akihito politely introduces himself to a strange sea lion wearing a vest on the rocky shore. Pointing to a tide pool, he asks whether the small crabs and fish are safe to eat. A sea lion's gruff bark suggests they are edible but not very tasty. Akihito thanks the creature and says any amount of food would be welcome. Giving a noncommittal grunt, the sea lion turns its head away and looks indifferent. It plunges into the ocean with a powerful splash and disappears beneath the waves. Not sure if the creature dislikes humans, Akihito decides to try fishing on his own. He reaches into the tide pool, trying to catch the tiny creatures by hand. At first, he splashes around clumsily, unable to get a grip on anything. After 10 minutes of effort, he lifts a single tiny fish in triumph. Happy with his catch, he realizes this method will take far too long. Tossing the fish back, he realizes he really needs a proper fishing rod. A loud splash startles him as something lands on the rock beside him. Disbelief shows on his face as he looks at a magnificent bundle of large fish tied with seaweed. He realizes the sea lion's voice was the same. It had gone to fetch this for him. With another quick splash, the gentle sea lion dives back into the ocean and disappears. Grateful, Akihito cups his hands and calls out a sincere thank you. As he carries the pot of fish, he thinks about how the kind creature went out of its way. The fish are so fresh, he marvels, feeling a little awkward about the generous gift. Realizing the bounty is too good to keep, he heads to the minion village. He reaches a quaint village tucked among giant whimsical mushrooms. Bucci, the patch-faced minion, greets him warmly, glad to see him back. Tama rushes over excitedly and asks what brings him here while his nose twitches with curiosity. When Akito lifts the lid on a pot of fresh fish, the minion's eyes light up with joy. Called a master fisherman, he humbly says a sacred beast gave it to him. Bucci recognizes the description and identifies the creature as belonging to the Ishika tribe. The Ashikas serve the half-fishmen, he explains, and wear scallop shells instead of hats. Now Akihito realizes the sea lion he met was one of these Ashika. He asks what the Ashika are like and whether they hold a grudge against humans. Bucci argues the Ashika are a tribe burdened by many internal contradictions. Confused, Akihito asked Bucci to explain what he means by these contradictions. Bucci says they are shy but kind, want to help others, and struggle with social interaction. Although they love grilled fish, their clumsiness around fire often gets them burned. Bucci says this inner conflict even makes their shoulders comically stiff. His minions tell him to be kind to Ishika, and Akihito nods in understanding. Back at the camp he shares with Olivia, he sets about cooking the generous gift of fish. Using his magical preparation skill, he gets the fish ready for the fire instantly. A spotless fish lies on a wooden plank, ready to be grilled over the fire. At one point, he calls for a proper santoku knife to help with the preparation. He plans to cook salt-grilled mackerel in a flavorful soup for his minion friends. A fish sizzles over the flames as Olivia calls his name. Olivia comes back from the hunt, dejected and shrouded in a bleak sense of failure. A freshly grilled fish is offered to her, and its rich aroma quickly lifts her spirits. He admits he didn't catch it himself and suggests they eat while they talk. He describes his strange and wonderful encounter with a kind member of the Ishika tribe. Amazed, Olivia comments on the incredible thing that happened to him today. He admits he wanted to befriend the creature, but worried it might dislike him. Olivia faces him, her expression suddenly serious, leaving him completely off guard. Completely confident, she guarantees he can befriend them. Her complete trust in him makes his heart skip a beat, leaving him flustered. He admires how kind and gentle Olivia is for believing in him so strongly. He thanks her and promises to return to the sea later to try to meet it again. Glad they're becoming friends, he's worried getting closer could be dangerous. When the next ship arrives, he knows Olivia will have to leave the island. Thinking about their eventual goodbye already feels unbearably painful. The crackling campfire reminds them that their day of parting is near. With new resolve, he looks up and decides to focus on the time they have now. Olivia thanks him for the meal and vows to work harder at hunting. They wish each other luck as she returns to the forest to try again. Watching her leave, he decides that for now, he just needs to be careful. Remembering Ashika's love-grilled fish, he decides to bring one back as a gift. Standing on the rocky shore, he scans the horizon for his new sea lion friend. At last, he spots the creature on a distant rock and calls, "There you are." Approaching slowly, he offers a soft greeting to avoid startling the shy beast. Still surprised, the sea lion immediately tries to slip back into the water. Akihito quickly tells it to wait and says he brought grilled fish to thank it. Stopping his questions about the fish, the sea lion confirms it is a gift. Asked if it dislikes fish, the creature quickly denies it and looks away. He thinks the quick denial might mean it actually likes the fish. Setting the offering down, he tells it the meal was delicious and that he is grateful. A wary sea lion approaches the offering and begins eating the grilled fish. Crouching nearby, Akihito smiles warmly while watching the creature enjoy its meal. Politely reintroducing himself, he asks the creature to tell him its name. Toby, the sea lion, looks out to sea and gives a soft bark. Beaming, Akihito thanks Toby for finally telling him his name. Toby casts a shy, sideways glance, apparently pleased by his happy reaction. Turning back to the ocean, he keeps nibbling his tasty gift. Akihito thinks Toby is a kind, sacred beast for helping him. Determined, he decides right away to find a proper way to repay Toby for his kindness. They sit together when a dark, menacing shape suddenly rises from the ocean. Under the waves, a pair of glowing, menacing eyes stares out of the dark. A massive creature bursts from the sea in a violent spray of white water. A sudden, massive disturbance leaves Akihito and Toby completely taken aback. Akihito ducks instinctively to protect himself from the massive spray of seawater. The creature crashes down, and Akihito throws himself over Toby to shield him from the impact. He looks up in shock at a huge tentacled monster looming over them. Quickly, he asks Toby if he's okay, and the sea lion gives a small nod. Toby shakes water from his head, his face showing annoyance. The splash knocked his prized scallop shell hat askew. The shell falls from his head and clatters onto the wet rocks beside him. Toby gives a frustrated cry and snatches his treasured hat back. Two sleek killer whales surface, chattering excitedly toward Toby. Baffled Akihito senses a strange, almost playful mood in the creatures. Toby tells him to stand back, making him increasingly confused about the situation. Akihito suddenly realizes they are all just pranksters, but he still does not understand. Toby says he became a prankster because of the half-fishman's influence. Akihito is completely baffled by the strange, pointless explanation from the sea lion. A giant fish playfully smacks Toby, knocking him into the water. The ocean churns as a strange parade of sea creatures starts to move away. Akihito sits alone on the rocks, watching the waves, still baffled by what happened. From the cliff, Akihito calls down to see if his friend Toby is okay. He's worried the sea lion might not return today after the chaotic prank. He remembers the strange sight of the giant fish and the killer whales. He regrets not thanking Toby properly for the fish he brought earlier. The sea lion's sad words about feeling like half a person keep echoing in his mind. He decides to wait a little longer, hoping his friend will return. Perched on the cliff, he wishes he could do something to help. A stream of bubbles breaks the calm ocean surface. Toby leaps from the sea in a big splash, full of energy. Akihito realizes the two killer whales from before are chasing him playfully. He calls Toby's name while the sea lion affectionately nudges him. Toby slips back into the water with a playful, slightly mischievous expression. With a quick wink, he slips back into the waves. Far off, the killer whales keep up their lively play with Toby. Waves churn, spray flying as their play throws the sea into chaos. Akihito spends a while searching the shoreline, but his friend is gone. A dark silhouette on a distant rock catches his eye, and he wonders if it's Toby. The creature turns and fear jolts through Akihito. The monstrous devil rat lets out a vicious snarl, its fangs bared. Akihito's eyes widen with sheer terror. Horror grips him as he finds himself face to face with a deadly monster. This is serious. Olivia, his powerful protector, is missing. Panic drives him to check himself, and he realizes he is unarmed and alone. Sharp claws dig into the rock as the creature prepares to lunge. It launches through the air, a blur of mangy black fur and rage. He throws himself back as the monster's snapping jaws miss him by inches. He scrambles away as his feet slip on the uneven rocks. He recalls Olivia saying the creatures were not very strong. Seeing its terrifying maw up close, he strongly disagrees. Without a weapon, he knows he stands no chance. The second devil rat joins the hunt, closing in relentlessly. A surge of panic hits him as he realizes he's about to be caught. Desperate, he opens his status screen and cries out for a powerful weapon. The monster's jaws snap shut the instant he makes his split-second decision. A flash of light reveals a heavy object forming in his hands. He lets out a defiant shout as the weapon finishes forming. He drives the axe with everything he has, the blade striking with a brutal, sickening impact. Bringing the weapon down again, he finishes off the monster in a spray of gore. The second devil rat cries out in terror and runs into the wilderness. Panting heavily, he watches it disappear, unsure if he really drove it off. Collapsing to the ground, he is exhausted and thinks he barely survived. His gloved hand still grips the axe handle, trembling with adrenaline. Seated among the rocks, he thinks about the monster he just defeated. Olivia comes to mind, someone who could have dealt with a creature like that with ease. He steels himself and decides to ask her to train him for the future. Seated, he watches a familiar head break the surface of the water nearby. Toby calls Akihito's name, looking concerned. Worried for his human friend, the young sea lion lets out a soft sigh. Akihito turns, surprised but relieved to see him. Noticing Toby in the water, he hears a soft sound that gets his attention. Akihito beams and tells Toby he had been hoping to talk with him. Toby seems to be asking if Akihito was talking to him. Climbing onto the rocks, he nudges Akihito and asks if he is hurt. Akihito smiles, showing he saw the fight and that he's okay, just startled. Toby apologizes, saying he was too far away to arrive in time to help. Akihito thanks him for his concern and asks if Toby is okay after the prank. Toby says the elaborate prank was his way of thanking Akihito. Akihito is deeply moved by the unusual but sincere gesture. Toby watches quietly, their bond of friendship now firmly established. After a short, comfortable silence, Toby changes the subject. Shyly, he says the grilled fish was delicious. Surprised by the compliment, Akihito thanks him. Smiling broadly and genuinely, he happily tells Toby he's welcome. He offers to cook again if Toby brings more fish, and his friend nods eagerly. Akihito then asked why the others called him half a person. Toby looks down, sad and wondering why the others treat him so badly. Hats are extremely important to the Ashika tribe. These marks show adulthood and are a rite of passage for every member. All his peers have found their hats, and he still has none. He says he swims farther than anyone, always searching. Since he's still only half a person, he feels he cannot complain. Resting his head on Akihito's shoulder, he allows himself a moment of vulnerability. Akihito insists strongly that Toby is trying his best and is not to blame. He tells Toby he is kind and hardworking, just a bit unlucky. Toby is taken aback by the remark and calls Akihito a strange person. The sea lion regards him with fresh curiosity and respect. Akihito considers how important a hat must be to the Ishika people. A sudden insight gives him a brilliant idea. Toby was asked which hat he wanted. Hearing the answer, the man in the straw hat knows exactly what to do. At a single point, a beautiful straw hat appears out of thin air. Offering the hat to Toby, he repays Toby's earlier kindness. Tobias froze, his eyes wide with tears, and asked if the hat was for him. Akihito confirms this, and the young sea lion gently accepts the gift. Holding the hat reverently, he looks at it with wonder in his eyes. Gently, he sets it on his head. Proud and grown-up, he strikes a pose while Akihito says it looks perfect. Deeply moved, Toby repeatedly thanks Akihito. His gratitude leaves him nearly speechless. Akihito smiles warmly, glad his friend likes the gift so much. He hopes they can sit and talk like this again soon. Two friends sit on the rocks, watching the calm sea. They share a calm moment of companionship on the shore. From afar, the two arrogant Albert birds eye them with suspicion. Back at camp, Akihito carries his new axe and a log for the fire. A single powerful swing splits the log cleanly in two. He marvels at how his skill with camping tools guides his muscles. A surge of accomplishment fills him now that he has finally acquired a proper weapon. He looks back on the long journey and the points he used to get here. A smug grin crosses his face as a new day brings a level up. Pointing dramatically, Akita announces he'll spin the roulette for points. Olivia, still sleepy, steps out of the tent and wishes him good morning. Still groggy, she stumbles forward and cries out in surprise. Her hand accidentally presses the stop button on his screen. They fall to the ground in an awkward, tangled heap. Face to face, he asks if she's okay while she stammers an apology. Her eyes widen in embarrassment when she notices how close they are. Scrambling away from him quickly, she apologizes for tripping and getting too close. Akihito looks at his screen and is stunned to see he won 36 points. After getting everything else, he lets out a loud cheer for his jackpot win. Grateful, he thanks Olivia profusely as she stands completely bewildered and has no idea what happened. Having so many points, he buys a set of healing skills. Next, he summons a high-quality multi-purpose knife to use with his preparation skill. Olivia watches with wide-eyed curiosity as he shows her the new blade. He thinks that with extra points, he can finally buy them breakfast. He decides to use the food gacha twice so they can have a proper meal. A delicious-looking club sandwich appears before them with a flourish. He says how lucky he is, while Olivia admires the appetizing food. The second gacha item appears, a large, plain white tub. He reveals it's ice cream, and Olivia's face lights up as she says she loves sweets. Olivia fears it will melt, but Akihito suggests they share it with the minions. Noting the warm day, she wishes she could use ice magic to keep it cool. With a knowing smile, Akihito tells her he has just the thing. Using a special magic-powered refrigerant pack, he summons a large cooler box. Olivia cheerfully accepts his request to charge the pack. They step into the whimsical minion village, tucked among giant mushrooms. Buchi welcomes them warmly as they come up carrying the large cooler. The minions gather around and ask about the large box. Akihito smiles warmly and says he brought a delicious treat to share. Hearing about delicious food sends a ripple of excitement through the whole village. Opening the cooler, he says he has plenty of ice cream for everyone. The minions stare at the odd white lump, unsure if it's really edible. Olivia says she's never had it, so Akihito suggests they try a taste. Beauty lifts the first spoonful as the whole village watches closely. Holding their breath, Akihito and Olivia hope he enjoys the cold treat. Buchi's eyes snap open as he lets out a thunderous roar of pure joy. He calls it delicious and admits he totally underestimated Akihito. Smiling, Olivia tells the other eager minions to line up. Beaming with joy, she finds new happiness and helps her friends. Akihito watches, realizing this is completely new to her. Buchi teases Akihito to stop staring and get a bowl for himself. The minions dig in eagerly, taking large spoonfuls of the new treat. One of the cat people savors the cold, delicious flavor of the ice cream. Everyone in the village is swept up in euphoria and says it tastes like heaven. People keep asking for more and say it's so good they could eat it every day. They begin praising Akihito as a god who gives them wonderful things. One minion eagerly suggests building a bronze statue to honor him. Olivia giggles at the thought of a grand statue of Akihito, the ice cream god. Flustered, Akihito explains it's made only from plain eggs and milk. Stunned, a minion asks if he can really do it himself. Akihito says goat's milk will work, now they only need eggs. Buchi thinks carefully about where they might get bird eggs. Akita fears they mean the arrogant Albert birds, but Buchi dismisses the notion. Buchi says there are no chickens, but there is another bird. Confused, Akihito asked what other kind of eggs they could possibly get. Boogie becomes deadly serious as he identifies their dangerous target, the rock. A monstrous bird more than 12 meters tall is nesting 40 kilometers away, he reports. Boogie warns anyone caught stealing its egg will be killed. Unfazed, the minions say the risk is worth it for more ice cream. Thomas suggests that instead of stealing an egg, they should capture a rock. Olivia chimes in, eyes sparkling, and says rock meat is delicious too. Overjoyed, the minions picture a feast of roasted rock and ice cream. Akihito, Olivia, Buchai, and Tama form a small, determined hunting party. Akihito breaks into a cold sweat, realizing he may have just made a terrible, sinful mistake. He reviews his plans and chooses which skills to learn for the dangerous trip. He spends a few points to unlock the useful edibility judgment skill. He unlocks beginner's movement magic, a teleport skill to use in emergencies. Having completed their preparations, the small party is finally ready to depart. 4 adventurers enter the deep, towering forest. Buchai warns Tama to watch his step as the path becomes more treacherous. Tama replies that he's always careful, unlike clumsy Buchi. Right then, Toma trips on a vine, becomes tangled, and is pulled up. Buchi sounds the alarm, worried about his friend's safety. He warns they must cut the vine immediately to prevent it from crushing Tama. Akihito's eyes widen as he realizes how he can help. Stepping forward, he tells the others he'll handle it. With his knife drawn, he says he can see exactly where to cut. Activating his pro of preparation skill, he becomes a blur of motion. Thick vines are cut through instantly by impossibly precise slashes. Tama lands safely on the ground, completely unharmed by the dangerous trap. Akihito catches the dazed minion, relieved to have saved him. Olivia hurries to check on Tama, who is shaken but otherwise fine. The Dominions thank Akihito and Olivia sincerely for their swift rescue. Olivia praises his swordsmanship, and he says it came from a cooking technique. They feel a menacing presence in the canopy high above. A sneering voice asks if they're trying to get the mignons ready to be eaten. Akihito recognizes the maddening voice and looks up with a scowl. Perched above, the 2 arrogant Albert birds mock them for needing human help. Tama is flustered, and Akihito explains he wasn't going to eat him. Birds fly off, making it clear they are not afraid of mere humans. Buchi says the sun is setting, and they should keep moving. Akihito nods and turns to continue their journey down the path. Boogie points to the steep, rocky terrain just ahead, near the rock's nest. The group begins the difficult, dangerous climb up the cliff face. From high above, the Albert birds watch, annoyed that the party is ignoring them. They decide to attack to force the party to notice them. Fruit suddenly pelted Akita, and she cried out in surprise. Olivia hit as well, noting the attack comes from above. With his edibility judgment skill, he analyzes the projectiles and finds they are all food. Akihito, furious, declares that food must never be wasted. Akihito sorts the fruit with practiced skill, impressing Olivia and the minions. The Albert birds are puzzled by what just happened. They notice Akihito seems different than usual. Akihito turns to face the birds, and a sudden chilling thought crosses his mind. A sharp glint in his eye shows he realizes the birds can be eaten. A status screen pops up before the birds, labeling them as edible, and they freeze in terror. Fleeing for their lives, the birds scream that they are about to be eaten. Tom happily eats a banana as Butchai points out how fast the bird is. Olivia praises Akihito, amazed that his skinning skill has such a powerful effect. Suddenly the ground shakes violently beneath their feet. Akihito looks up at the trembling mountain, unsure whether it's an earthquake. Terrified, Buchi cries out, recognizing the sign of a much greater danger. Pointing to the sky, he warns that the giant rock is returning to its nest. The ground cracks and shatters as the gargantuan creature starts to descend. When it lands, a massive shockwave of dust and debris sweeps across the cliffside. The rock hits with a deafening screech, its massive body blocking out the sun. Akihito stands stunned and says the creature is unbelievably huge. As if one weren't enough, another massive rock lands beside the first. A third rock rises, its menacing eye glaring down at the intruders. The three rocks let out a fierce, united screech, ready to defend their home. A close-up of a rock's enraged eye shows it intends to kill. Panicked, Buchi shouts that the situation is truly dangerous. One dive from the rock comes down, as sharp talons aimed directly at the minions. Massive claws slam into the rock with devastating, earth-shattering force. Terrified, Thomas screams and dives for cover, convinced he's about to be eaten. Scrambling, he squeezes into a narrow crevice just in time. Rock talons miss by inches as the minions huddle together, safe for now. A second rock circles overhead, ready to join the attack on the intruders. The wing's powerful downdraft knocks Akihito to the ground. Olivia helps him up and checks if he's all right while he stammers about its size. Buchi yells to Akihito, urging him to fall back into the forest for cover. The party scrambles to its feet and follows the minions to safety. At the woods, Buchi tells them the large birds cannot follow. From their hiding spot, they can see all three rocks guarding their nest. Olivia grimly assesses the odds and admits she can take on at most one. Buchi says a frontal assault would be reckless and advises waiting for an opening. Olivia's eyes flash with excitement, eager to fight one and get some tasty meat. Buchi agrees with Akihito's plan to prioritize the eggs and starts working out a strategy. Noting that the minions can hide, he says Akihito and Olivia are too big. Akihito reveals his ace, a teleportation skill that can transport one other person. A bright gleam in Buchi's eyes shows he has a plan. Drawing the party close, he whispers the first part of his daring strategy. Three rocks shift uneasily in their nest on the hierarchy cliff. A bird ruffles its feathers, preparing to depart. The rocks exchange low growls before one flies off. One rock is gone, leaving only two to guard the precious eggs. The rest of the birds turn their heads as a strange sound draws their attention. Hidden minions toss oranges that roll near the nest as a distraction. The rocks stare at the fruit, puzzled by its sudden appearance. Curiosity gets the better of them, and they start pecking at the oranges. Hidden nearby, Buki and Tama whisper that the diversion is working perfectly. They keep tossing fruit to lead the giant birds away from the nest. Seeing the rocks distracted, Buchi signals Akihito to take care of the rest. From behind a rock, Akihito peeks out and sees his chance. He spots the prize, two huge, spotless white eggs lying in the nest. Creeping forward as quietly as he can, his heart pounds in his chest. Reaching the nest, his gloved hand hovers over one of the giant eggs. Grinning determinedly, he grabs the egg and prepares to escape. Straining to lift it, he is stunned by how unexpectedly heavy it is. Straining, his face tightens as he says it is incredibly heavy. Olivia rushes to his side and asks what is wrong as he fumbles with the egg. Offering to take over, she uses her body enhancement skill to lift it. Their clumsy handoff makes a loud scraping sound that echoes across the cliff. One rock gives a furious shriek as its head snaps toward the sound. They look up in horror and realize their stealthy plan has failed completely. Akihito snatches his axe and braces to meet the charging monster. Olivia sounds the alarm as the enraged rock barrels toward them. Akihito turns to face the threat, his expression grim and determined. Shouting, he tells Olivia to get down and shoves her behind him to shield her. As the last line of defense, he shields his friend from the behemoth. The rock's beak slams down, throwing Akihito backward with staggering force. Trembling under the crushing pressure, he realizes the creature's overwhelming power. He can't believe the damage came from chipping just one talon. Olivia tells him they must make an opening to escape. The rocket strikes again, crashing down with terrifying speed and force. Akihito dodges and shouts defiantly that he will not let it take the egg. His only goal is to make sure everyone returns safely. Olivia watches him, her eyes wide and moved by his selfless courage. The third rock starts flying back, and Boogie knows their time is up. Calling out the second part of the plan, he tells them it's time to go home. Hearing Butchai, Akihito knows what he must do to save them all. Calling to Olivia, he tells her to be ready on his signal. Olivia lets out a powerful cry and uses her Vance skill to hurl the egg at him. He catches it as she calls out that she created the opening they needed. Clutching the egg, Akihito uses his movement magic to reach the campsite. A sudden bright flash of light blinds the two bewildered rocks. Back at their camp, they tumble to the ground in a dazed heap. Looking up, Olivia sees their tent and feels relieved that they made it. Hands clasp and laughter follows as they celebrate their narrow but successful escape. Exhausted by the powerful spell, Akihito collapses. After apologizing to each other, they were now worried about the friends they had left behind. Olivia explains the rest of the plan. They would meet at the minion village. They stroll through a familiar, peaceful forest of giant spotted mushrooms. Olivia is confident the minions are safe because she trusts their knowledge of the island. Remembering Butchai's secret plan, Akihito trusts his clever friend. When they reach the village clearing, they find their friends waiting. Buchi and Tama hurry forward, thrilled to find Akihito and Olivia safe. All the villagers celebrate the hero's safe return and the prize they brought back. Akihito smiles and asks Butchai what his incredible secret escape plan was. Buchi puffs out his chest and proudly says his plan was to run. The promise of ice cream gave them all the courage they needed, he explains. Using 5 points, Akihito summons a large spherical ice cream maker for the celebration. Buchi and Thomas examine the strange device, trying to see if it can really make ice cream. The minions eagerly help mix the rock egg yolk, goat's milk, and sugar in a bowl. Akihito asked Olivia to use her magic to cool the device's refrigerant pack instantly. Smiling, Akihito says the final step is to just roll the ball. The minion children cheer with delight and start rolling the big ball around. Completely captivated, Olivia watches the heartwarming scene, charmed by how adorable the minions are. The minions gather expectantly, and Akito says the ice cream is almost ready. He flourishes a bowl to reveal perfectly churned, creamy ice cream. The minions dig in, their faces brightening with pure bliss at the delicious taste. The crowd cheers for Akihito and urges a statue be built in his honor, leaving him embarrassed. During the celebration, Olivia pulls him aside to thank him sincerely. Laughing, he says he was just frantically trying to make their turn safer. With genuine admiration, she looks at him and insists he was incredibly cool. Flustered by her sincere compliment, Akihito can only stammer a quiet thank you. Olivia's mood shifts as she laments failing to get any meat. Buchi overhears her and asks if she wants meat, and she agrees eagerly. He proposes they hunt in the caves, a place full of delicious things. Intrigued by the suggestion, Olivia repeats the word caves to confirm. Buchi describes a magical place alive with rare creatures, glittering crystals, and delicious ingredients. Olivia notes that everyone seems to agree and turns her gaze to Akihito. Akihito, fired up, points ahead and says their next adventure will be a cave expedition. At the base of a rocky cliff, a dark cave entrance waits. Now prepared for a new challenge, Akihito and Olivia approach the foreboding opening. Olivia recognizes the location and confirms this must be the cave Buchi described. Before the dark maw, she points to a strange totem and says it marks the entrance. Buchi points out the number carved on the totem's stomach looks like a 0. He says the number shows the monster level, with 0 meaning the area is safe. Buchi determines there are no powerful monsters hiding near the cave entrance. Akihito figures the meat there after is deeper in, where tougher monsters live. With her warrior spirit ignited, Olivia vows to get the meat. She hesitates, then admits she will need a light to find her way in the dark. Akihito gently offers her a lantern, and she becomes flustered by the thoughtful gesture. Their hands touch briefly as he hands her the lantern. In a panic, she pulls her hand back and apologizes for her strange reaction. Smiling shyly, she asked if she could carry the light. With a warm, reassuring grin, Akito tells her that it is, of course. Thanking him, she takes the lantern with new confidence. Olivia lifts their light high and officially begins the expedition into the cave. Ikehita watches her. A fawn-like smile plays on his face as he thinks of her name. He decides to support her, aware she is doing her best despite her phobia. Stepping into the gloom, they agree to move slowly and exercise great caution. Farther in, they walk through a vast cavern. The ceiling is dotted with strange glowing lights. Bucci points to another totem, marked with a 1, indicating a more dangerous area. Ikido says the path looks clear for now, and Olivia watches nervously. A strange, ethereal light suddenly flashes past Akihito, startling him. The light resolves into a massive swarm of large moth-like insects. Akihito grimaces as they realize they are surrounded by a terrifying swarm of bugs. His arms thrash, but he is completely overwhelmed and cannot drive the swarm away. Olivia calls his name and asks whether he is all right through the chaotic swarm of insects. Bugs drawn to the light begin to gather around the lantern she holds. Olivia shouts a warning as she realizes the swarm is dimming their only light. Calling Vance in a furious shout, she unleashes a powerful swirling gust of wind. The blast instantly scatters the swarm, sending the insects flying. A powerful attack from her cut through the swarm and left a pile of defeated insects on the ground. Afterward, Akihito notices a cluster of pale growths on the wall and realizes they are mushrooms. His expertise confirms these are edible cave mushrooms, a rare and tasty find. Tama excitedly remembers that Bucci said they could trade these mushrooms for bacon. Akihito pictures a savory meal of sauteed bacon and mushrooms while they gather their prize. As they continue, Olivia notices something else tucked into a dark crevice. Calling to Akihito, she says there may be another edible find nearby. Moving closer, Akihito peers into the darkness, trying to figure out what the strange plant is. Olivia notices an odd plant growing in the dark as Akihito prepares to investigate. Suddenly, the ground in front of them erupted with a monstrous roar. Akihito shouts Olivia's name as he sees a monster burst from the ground. Shock widens his eyes as he sees the creature in its full, terrifying form. A massive armored centipede towers over him, and he can only whisper how large it is. As the creature lunges, Akihito instinctively raises his axe to defend himself. The monster's sharp, powerful mandibles click threateningly just above his head. Nervously, Akihito says the creature is a centipede, which makes Olivia recoil in disgust. The centipede charges forward with a guttural roar, its maw wide open. A powerful strike from the monster sends their precious lantern tumbling through the air. Olivia's eyes go wide with horror as she watches their only light source fall away. The lantern slams into the far wall, shatters, and plunges them into darkness. Acting on instinct, Akihito pushes Olivia behind him and yells for her to get down. Standing his ground, he holds his axe ready to face the monstrous threat alone. Its mandibles clamp around his axe, and he strains against their incredible power. Gritting his teeth, his muscles scream as the beast's sheer force pushes him back. He must avoid its poisonous legs, because a single touch could be fatal. The monster's snarling face is inches from his as it tries to crush him. From the darkness behind him, Olivia calls his name in terror. With one last desperate roar, Akihito pushes back with all his strength. The powerful counterattack succeeds in breaking one of the creature's massive mandibles. Carrying his momentum forward, he prepares to land a final, decisive blow. Dark ichor sprays from the creature's wound as it reels back in pain and shock. Leaping into the air, Akihito drives his axe down in a powerful overhead swing. The blade strikes with a sickening thud and sinks deep into the monster's head. Panting heavily from the fight, he stands over the defeated beast. He looks back at Olivia, disbelief in his voice that he actually managed to defeat it. Blushing with awe and relief, Olivia confirms that it appears he has. She compliments his amazing feat, and he laughs, relieved he somehow managed it. Standing over the corpse, a notification chimes from his unique skill. A pop-up identifies the creature as a Marvel giant centipede that is edible under certain conditions. The skill also explains that when boiled, it has a texture and taste like lobster. Ikido's face twists into a mask of raw shock and horror. Noticing his odd expression, Olivia asks what's wrong, worried he might be hurt. With a forced smile, he tells her the centipede is apparently delicious. Olivia freezes, eyes wide with horror, unable to take in his words. Quickly backpedaling, he waves his hands frantically and says he was only joking. Muttering to himself, he says it would take real courage to eat something that grotesque. Now that the nasty centipede is behind them, Akihito and Olivia laugh and agree to forget it. Akihito's hand suddenly slips as he reaches toward the lantern. From the side, Olivia watches the lantern clatter through the air. When darkness falls, they find their only light has gone out. Olivia lets out a desperate scream as she collapses, crying out into the darkness. Akihito yells her name, stunned by her intense reaction. On her knees, her whole body shakes uncontrollably from sheer terror. He reaches for her right away, trying to offer comfort and reassurance. Holding her, he understands how serious her phobia is and promises to stay by her side. Trembling, Olivia whispers a choked apology for her weakness. Holding her tighter, he tells her not to apologize, worried about finding a new light. Akihito must get her out of the cave. They're too vulnerable in the dark. Determination hardens his expression, and he will protect her at all costs. Peering into the gloom, he sees a faint, mysterious light deeper in the cave. He asks if she can walk, but she only shakes her head, frozen with fear. Left with no choice, he prepares to lift her off the ground. Apologizing for the familiarity, he gently lifts her into his arms. He carries her into a magnificent grotto, the walls glittering with a wondrous light. Both are stunned to discover the source, countless massive magic stones. Gently, he sets her down and suggests they rest for a while in the soft glow. Overwhelmed and flustered, Olivia can only give a quiet, blushing agreement. Apologizing again, she steadies herself while he gently tells her to be careful. Taking her hand, he gives a firm, reassuring squeeze of support. Smiling warmly, he tells her that her safety is the most important thing. Olivia meets his eyes, her expression soft with quiet gratitude. She squeezes his hand and thanks him, deeply moved by his steady kindness. A light-hearted exchange eases the tension for a moment. Akito picks up a crystal and admires the strange beauty of magic stones. Olivia explains the minions trade these and points out a large one must be valuable. Smiling, he hands her the stones, but she insists he was the one who found them. He offers them to her as a souvenir, saying he doesn't need them. Flustered, she admits her family is quite wealthy and doesn't need anything else. She teases him playfully, and he replies that his real prize is the mushrooms he found. A soft, genuine laugh escapes Olivia as her tense posture finally relaxes. Akihito smiles, relieved and glad to see her spirit coming back. Thinking about her earlier fear, he realizes it must come from deep trauma. Seeing the usually cheerful Olivia so afraid troubles him. He becomes convinced that her intense phobia stems from a painful experience. Olivia looks up at him with a serious expression and says his name. She remembers that he has always put her best interests first. She decides she can trust him and that it's okay to tell him her story. Repeating his name, she gets his full attention before she begins. With steady resolve, she asked him to listen to a story about her past. Akihito watches her with a serious expression as he gets ready to listen. In the glowing cavern they sit together as she prepares to explain everything. The cavern's sparkling crystals create a peaceful backdrop for her difficult story. They sit in the vast grotto, sharing a quiet, intimate moment amid its grandeur. Once curious about her past, Akihito now feels apprehensive. Olivia knows he must be curious why she has a crippling fear of the dark. He agrees to listen, even though the story is painful for her to tell. Recognizing her resolve, he tells her he really wants to know and understand. Touched by his thoughtfulness, Olivia gives him a grateful smile. Her story begins by taking them back to events a year earlier. A flashback shows her as a respected holy knight and platoon commander. Her cape proudly bears the ornate insignia of her noble house. Adoring subordinates eagerly invite her to join them for a meal. Two jealous nobles interrupt and falsely claim she already has plans with them. Her loyal soldiers glare at the two nobles, protecting their commander. Nobles spread bitter gossip about her, resenting her high birth and status. Someone quietly repeats a rumor he heard about the half-pieman family. He says her family's business failed and they are now deeply in debt. Her father, the Marquis, looks exhausted and tense. The Marquis's imposing presence instantly silences the gossiping nobles. Alone, he reads a letter, his face pained and worried. The burden of his family's troubles shows clearly on his face. Approaching Olivia, he holds a formal letter from the Marquisate. Olivia reads the letter, and her face shows shock and disbelief. Her father sees her reaction and asks what's wrong. He announces the devastating news that their trade ships have sunk again. He admits he took out a huge loan to cover their losses. He offers a solution, a marriage proposal from the Prince of Nissel. Olivia calmly explains that marrying the prince will clear their debts. Her father bursts into relieved tears, and she gently tells him not to worry. Closing her eyes, she accepts her duty as a daughter of House Half-Paiman. A soldier rushes in, interrupting them with a breathless, urgent message. He says zombies are pouring out of the cemetery and nodding at him. More than 300 undead have been counted, and the horde keeps growing. Olivia remembers the orphanage in Nottingham and the children she used to play with there. Resolute, she orders her platoon to prepare for battle. On horseback, she leads the charge with 72 soldiers against an army of the dead. Chaos erupts as a brutal battle against the undead horde begins. Now she sees the full scale of the threat, with more than 300 zombies ahead. A soldier suggests waiting for reinforcements, but she insists there is no time. She vows to hold the horde back here and rescue anyone still trapped inside. She puts Glenn, her second-in-command, in charge of the defensive line. Mounted on a white steed, she lifts her spear and prepares to use her ultimate holy technique. A massive wave of divine energy surges from her, wiping out the zombies. Her soldiers cheer her name, awed by her power as they search for survivors. With the path clear, she and her soldiers hurry into the church. Bursting through the front doors, they called out and found only an eerie silence. She scans the dark, empty church, searching for any survivors who might be hiding. Glenn, her trusted second-in-command, watches with a worried look. She tells him to stay calm and strong no matter what they find. A confident smile reassures him as she reminds him that she is a holy knight. A soldier discovers a side door locked from the inside. Olivia calls out, announcing her platoon and offering help to anyone nearby. No one answers, so she decides they must force the door open. A powerful kick smashes the wooden door, sending splinters flying. Soldiers under her command rush into the dark room with lanterns held high. Inside, they find what they came for, a group of huddled children. Olivia kneels in armor in a memory, relieved that a young girl is safe. A girl calls her older sister Olivia to ask if she remembers playing together. Suddenly, her face twists into a monstrous grin, her voice still calling out Big Sis. The child, now a zombie, snarls, a low guttural sound coming from her throat. Olivia throws herself protectively in front of the lunging zombie and shouts a warning. Terror widens her eyes as the horrific scene unfolds. The memory shows the sweet, smiling child alongside her twisted, undead form. In despair, Olivia reaches out as the memory of the innocent girl fades. A soldier prepares to strike the zombie child, seeing it as nothing more than an object. Olivia screams at him to stop and tells him he must not harm the child. The subordinate glances back, confused by Commander Olivia's order. He calls out a warning as two zombie nuns ambush him from behind. Soldier Buffett is bitten and cries out while Olivia watches in shock. Blood splatters her face as she screams for it to stop. Darkness falls over the world as the air fills with chaotic, fearful sounds. She recounts losing her platoon and failing to save the children, which led her to resign. Her father urges her to forget the past and accept the Prince of Nissel's proposal. The handsome prince arrives, greets Olivia, and says he has been waiting for her. He vows his kingdom's wealth will support her family and bring her this happiness. Olivia stares blankly, wondering what this supposed happiness really means. Accepting it would be an honor, and she feels she must do it. She tells a listening Akihito how the trauma left her crippled by a fear of the dark. After finishing her story, she admits her immaturity caused the tragedy. Akihito thanks her for sharing, then questions her engagement to the prince. With a pained look, she admits this is her embarrassing situation. He looks at her steadily and asks if she really wants this. He insists that giving himself as a human sacrifice for her family is wrong. He calls the prince a villain, but she insists he is a kind man. Tearfully, she demands to know why Akihito is treating her so cruelly. Her sharp retort makes him flinch, and he realizes he went too far. He apologizes for getting upset about her family's debt-driven decision. Sighing, she says that noble marriages work this way and asks him not to worry. Her eyes widen as she starts to speak, but she hesitates. He says passionately that he hates seeing her unhappy and wants her suffering to end. Moved by his words, she turns away, her face flushed. Her fist clenched, she thanks him but says she cannot betray her parents. Akihito's face softens as he accepts he can't push her any further. Relieved, he promises not to mention it again, glad she confided in him. Suddenly, Olivia changes her tone and boasts she is fine and still strong. Flexing comically, she says she will fight if things get unreasonable, leaving Akihito baffled. He let out a warm, relieved laugh, appreciating her effort to lighten the mood. Her bright laughter joins in, filling the glowing cavern. Akihito's smile drops as an unspoken thought surfaces. He wishes he could ask her to stay with him on the island. Olivia notices he is quiet and asks if something is wrong. Brushing it off, he suggests they collect more of the valuable magic stones. She brightens at the idea. If money is the issue, they can take care of it. She agrees eagerly, and they decide to take what they can carry. Bucci the Catman appears, glad to get a bag for their haul. Recharged, Olivia is ready to gather souvenirs and even hunt for meat. Leaving, Akihito thinks about Olivia's remarkable string. Heavy scraping echoes from the dark cave entrance. A menacing shadow fills the tunnel as a new threat closes in on them. A dark, monstrous shape seems to fill the entire passage. They step into the light, and Olivia says she has found them. Proudly, she displays a large sack of plump, pristine cave mushrooms. Relieved, Akihito smiles, knowing the monster from the cave never appeared. Olivia holds the mushrooms and comments on their strong, pleasant aroma. When he jokes with her, she panics, thinking he's referring to her smell. Laughing, he suggests leaving the mushrooms outside and finding somewhere to cook. Hidden in the shadows, an observer notices they also possess magic stones. A sudden sharp sound from inside the cave startles them both. A heavy thud rolls through the air, announcing the arrival of something large. A monstrous saber board surges forward, its eyes glowing with malice. Both cry out in shock as the massive beast appears. The boar plants its feet, muscles coiled and ready to charge. Pushing Akihito aside, Olivia says she will handle the monster. Power flares in her eyes as she activates her body enhancement skill. Drawing her sword in a blur, she prepares to meet the charge. The boar's eyes narrow as it charges toward her at incredible speed. Steel rings against tusk as she blocks the attack. The sword in her hand shatters, unable to withstand the creature's immense power. Akihito stares in disbelief as he realizes Olivia has been completely overpowered. The impact knocks her backward, sending her stumbling across the ground. She fights to keep her footing against the boar's relentless attack. He shouts her name as the creature's brute strength pushes her back. She notices the boar's remarkable speed and the hardness of its tusks. Horror grips Akihito as they realize the situation is dire. He realizes Olivia's power doesn't work on this enemy. A desperate idea hits him. Using his movement magic, he can escape. Focusing, he plans to teleport them right back to their camp. Magic starts to form, then fizzles out. Both watch, confused and alarmed by the spell's failure. Panic hits him as he realizes his magic is gone. Olivia shouts for him to run as the board charges again, confident it will win. Akihito pushes her back, lifts his axe, and shouts that he has to act. Straining against the boar's power, he groans that the beast is too strong. Unable to push it back, he shouts for Olivia to save herself. Crying in despair, she refuses to abandon him. Both stand frozen in a moment of pure terror. Knowing he can't hold on, Akihito begs her to run, but she screams his name. Suddenly, a new voice orders them to close their eyes and mouths. They recognize the voice, they obey, and squeeze their eyes shut in confusion. An enormous explosion unleashes a blinding flash and a cloud of smoke. Bushi steps out of the haze and tells them to move now. Two minions grab their dazed friends and pull them to safety. Bucci tells them to climb a high rocky ledge to buy them time. Saluting proudly, he says he had a bad feeling and came to check on them. Akihito thanks them and rubs his eyes, which sting from the blast. Bucci pulls out a minion's special pepper bomb while the boar sneezes. Perched on a high cavern ledge, Bucci says they need an escape plan. Akihito realizes his teleportation magic won't work and becomes alarmed. Bucci apologizes and explains the magic stones are interfering with his skills. A deafening crash fills the air as the ground violently shakes beneath them. Furious, the boar slams into the rock wall, trying to knock down its perch. Bucci outlines the boar tactic, and Akihito realizes how precarious their situation is. Powerful repeated impacts throw the party off balance. Akihito decides they must find a weak point, and Boogie suggests setting a trap. Akihito has a sudden idea as he remembers his special skills. Using his pro of preparation skill, he studies the beast to find a weakness. "I've found it," he says, having located the monster's vital point. Olivia watches as hope returns to her face. She tells Akihito confidently that if all they need is an opening, he can leave it to her. Akihito watches the brave, holy knight prepare for battle. Gathering her courage, Olivia jumps down to confront the charging boar. She counters the monster's ferocious charge with her own formidable power. The impact sends sparks and rock flying in all directions. The saber boar reels, thrown back by her sudden strength. A powerful shockwave from their collision echoes through the cavern. A massive blast of force marks the climax of their direct confrontation. Buchi cheers as Akihito lowers Olivia on a rope and explains the sparking magic stones. The minions bravely call to Olivia and serve as bait for the boar. Buchi trusts Olivia with the plan, and she accepts readily. Massive boar shakes its head, recovering from the stunning blow. A furious snort erupts, steam billowing from its nostrils as it prepares to charge again. Buchi yells a warning as the furious beast charges toward their trap. Toma cries as Olivia pulls the tripwire taut, unleashing her advanced skill. Barreling forward, the boar's hooves catch the rope with a loud snap. Toma lets out a victory cheer as the trap springs, briefly stunning the beast. The minions shout to Akihito that the rest is up to him. Seeing the monster vulnerable, Akihito lunges forward with his skinning knife. He loudly activates his ultimate support skill, Pro of Preparation. Charging toward the recovering beast, he is completely focused. Confused by the sudden turn of events, the dazed saber boar looks up. Akihito slides directly under a massive creature. His skill shows the boar is safe to eat, but its tough tusk needs to be removed first. Excited by the thought of meat, Olivia and the minions immediately offer their help. Defeated, the saber boar lies on the ground, dizzy and disoriented. Back at camp, Akihito keeps a warm, crackling fire going. Everyone at the party feasts on skewers of boar, shouting that they are delicious. Olivia calls the meal heavenly, and Akito completely agrees. Buchi smiles, enjoying the simple pleasure of a good meal with friends. Akihito thinks it's wonderful to eat with everyone and is grateful for their friendship. He thanks everyone for their help, and the minions thank him in return. Olivia looks at Akihito, her face soft as she says his name thoughtfully. Buchi insists he did what was right, while Toma calls him a show-off. Buchi says Akihito is a warrior who always looks out for his friends. Moved by being called companions, Akihito gives them a warm, grateful smile. Laughing, he tells them to stop the awkward talk and just eat more meat. Then he remembers the magic stones and realizes many were broken in the fight. Olivia holds up a handful of intact crystals, smiling to show they have more than enough. Deeply grateful, she thanks him and their irreplaceable companions. Akihito readily agrees they should return to the cave later to gather more. Buchi offers to help and jokes that Akihito would be helpless without him. Tama insists on coming along, refusing to let Buchi have all the fun. Akihito laughs, glad Tom is there to keep Buchi in line. Trying not to laugh, Olivia covers her mouth at the minions' playful bickering. Akihito checks on Olivia, and she smiles, saying she's just getting some water. Just as they relax, a rustling in the bushes snaps them to attention. A new figure watches them from behind a tree and says, "I've found you." A wolf-like samurai appears and singles out Olivia as his target. He notices her distinctive swirling, twintel hairstyle. Hand on his sword, he declares her his master's enemy. Back at the camp, the celebration continues peacefully. Bolivia pours a refreshing drink into a bowl. She sips calmly from the bowl with her eyes closed, content. A soft, satisfied sigh escapes her. She calls to Akihito while he grills skewers over the campfire. Beaming with pure bliss, Tama asks for seconds. Akihito teases Tama not to overeat, while the minion insists he is fine. Tama says the meat tastes even better because they all work together. Akihito agrees to get another skewer for Butchai. Hidden in the shadows, the samurai watches, convinced a demon is deceiving the minions. Akito holds out another skewer to Olivia, and she politely declines. The samurai burst from the trees, vowing to punish the demon he saw. Akihito and the minions are stunned by the sudden intrusion. The samurai leaps into the air and challenges them to fight immediately. Akihito yells Olivia's name and raises the alarm as the warrior descends. Throwing himself in front of Olivia, he blocks the samurai's katana with a frying pan. Steel striking iron rings with a loud clang. Olivia thanks Akihito for protecting her and asks if he is all right. Furious that he would attack Akihito, she turns to the samurai. She lets out a powerful cry and uses her Vance skill to blast the samurai away. Sent flying, the wolf warrior lands gracefully on his feet. Olivia's power leaves him completely stunned. Aggression instantly melts into infatuation, and his eyes fill with hearts. Despite the minions' attempts to stop him, he insists she is a fearsome demon in disguise. They explain the situation, but the samurai still refuses to believe that humans are not demons. Akihito hopes the samurai, who knows Tama, can reason with him. The samurai mocks Akihito's frying pan and ignores anything he says. Growling, he says that demons who prey on people are his master's enemies. Lunging, Akihito shoves a meat skewer into his mouth to silence him. Stunned, the samurai falls silent at the incredible taste and texture. Calmly, Olivia approaches and suggests they eat and talk things over peacefully. The samurai is overwhelmed by the delicious meat juices. He admires the wisdom of such a strong, beautiful woman. Bowing deeply, he apologizes and introduces himself as Juan Yudo Noharu Kimi. Akihito explains that Kimi had heard rumors about a flesh-eating demon in the forest. With a sigh, Butch and Thomas note Kimi's short temper and troublesome ways. Kimi grumbles that he was only trying to live peacefully with the minions. Remorseful, Kimi admits he made a grave mistake and nearly killed an innocent man. Dramatically, he offers to commit seppuku until Olivia's anger subsides. Akihito quietly offers a skewer of freshly grilled meat as a peace offering. Olivia beams asks Kimi if the food he's eating tastes good. Kimie, glowing with delight, says the skewers Olivia made are the best. Smiling brightly, Olivia gives Akihito all the credit for the cooking. They exchange modest compliments, each noting how much the other helped. Kimi listens, quietly wishing he could learn to cook for Olivia too. Olivia praising Kimi's blade skills only makes him more agitated. Jealousy erupts as he berates Akihito for his poor swordsmanship. Driven by rivalry, Kimi challenges a cautious Akihito to another duel. Akihito refuses the pointless fight and questions Kimi's excessive aggression. Tama rushes to calm the two men as Olivia begins to look unwell. The small cat notices her distress first and asks what is wrong. In a weak voice, Olivia insists that everything is fine as she begins to collapse. Akihito catches her just as she faints, and Kimi cries out in alarm. Holding her limp form, he shouts her name as the minions watch in shock. Inside the tent, Tama keeps a quiet watch over the unconscious Olivia. They quickly fill a pot with water to help lower her fever. Carefully, Akihito carries the pot of cool water back to the tent. He returns to find Tama, solemnly telling him that Olivia has a high fever. Kimi frantically demands answers, but Tama tells him to stay calm and quiet. Close up on Olivia's face, beads of sweat from her raging fever. Akihito watches her, his face full of deep concern. Tama believes her illness is due to exhaustion and says they need to cool her down. Akihito brings water, and Tama puts a cool, damp cloth on her forehead. His immunity skill proves useless for helping her in this new world. An idea hits him, and he gently rests his hand on her head. He casts a basic recovery spell in desperation, hoping it will be enough to help. As the magic flows, a single tear rolls down her fevered cheek. Her eyes open, and she weakly calls his name as he leans over her. He apologizes for not noticing sooner, and she tells him she feels better. She reassures him, saying not to worry as her eyes close. A violent coughing fit cuts her words short and alarms everyone. Dread fills him when he realizes his magic is far too weak to cure her. When Kimi asks about medicine, Tama doubts their remedies will work. Thomas suddenly remembers a legend about an ingredient for a panacea at the bottom of the lake. Seizing the new hope, Akihito demands to know where the lake is. Buchi warns them the place is deep and dangerous, and the minions avoid it. Undeterred, Akihito vows to retrieve the vital ingredient himself. Kimi studies Akihito, his face stern and unreadable. The samurai objects and insists he should be the one to face the danger. Akihito insists he'll be fine, confident his unique skills will keep him safe. He says his biggest motivation is an urgent need to save Olivia. Guilt drives him, and he is determined not to have any more regrets about her safety. He insists he will go despite the danger. The minions are clearly moved by his steady determination to save their friend. Kimi relents, but his expression stays stern and conflicted. By the foreboding lake, Kimi turns a desperate rescue into a contest. Two rivals stand at the water's edge, tension crackling between them. Akihito doubts the need for a contest, and Kimi openly challenges his confidence. Calmly, Akihito says his only true motivation is to save Olivia. Kimi says he is serious too, and sees Olivia as his kind benefactor. He says Akihito is weak, untrustworthy, and can't protect her. Facing the final challenge, Kimi dives into the water to start the race. Confidently, he calls out that he'll win easily as he swims away from shore. Akihito steels himself and remembers this is not a game. He takes his first step into the cold, dark water of the mysterious lake. Determined to save Olivia, he dives headfirst into the depths. Kimi dives deeper to find the uniquely colored medicinal plant. Akihito cuts through the water, his face set in pure determination. An unseen force from the darkness below suddenly seizes Kimi. A huge hand grabs his leg and stops him dead in the murky water. A violent tug pulled him down, and he sank completely beneath the surface. Both Kimi and his unseen attacker surface, sputtering and gasping for air. Akihito asks whether he can't swim, but Kimi explains that he was pulled from below. When Akihito asked what grabbed him, Kimi said it was a powerful current. A strange glint on the water catches Akihito's eye. Kimi's face darkens as he senses a growing, unseen danger. Kimi warns Akihito about a dangerous presence lurking just beneath the surface. Bubbles rise as a creature moves along the bottom of the deep lake. Akihito leans in and confirms something is down in the depths. They both look down, unsure what kind of creature waits below. Kimi tells Akihito to give up and says he will dive in alone again. Akihito protests while a watery tendril shoots out and wraps around his ankle. The liquid tendril tightens, squeezing impossibly around his leg. Akihito dives under the surface with a splash, startling Kimi. Kimi calls his rival's name, his face showing real alarm. Underwater, Akihito suddenly realizes something has seized him. A powerful unseen current drags him helplessly through the water. Two enormous, monstrous fish emerge and create a terrifying whirlpool. Horror grips him as he realizes he is facing two monsters. A powerful whirlpool churns the water and pulls everything toward its center. A monster opens its huge jaw and tries to suck him in. Its jaws snap shut like a heavy pincer, narrowly missing him. A look of strained relief crosses his face as he barely avoids the attack. Something glowing in the dark water suddenly catches his eye. He spots the glowing medicinal plant resting peacefully on the lake bed. This must be the very ingredient they came here to find, he realizes. The tendril yanks him off course, dragging him back violently. Caught in the monster's whiskers, he knows he must cut himself free. His air is running out fast, and deep panic starts to take hold. Water resistance makes his movement slow and painfully difficult. His strength gives out, and he feels himself giving in to the inevitable. Kimi's sword flashed and cut the whisker, saving his life. Kimi races through the water to save his drowning rival. The samurai grabs him and hauls him quickly to the surface. Hands slap the rocky shore as they finally pull themselves out of the water. Worn out and battered, they both collapse to the ground, gasping for breath. Akihito thanks him, but Kimi gruffly brushes it off, hiding his worry. Kimi coughs violently, spitting up lake water while Akita watches with concern. The samurai wolf turns away, blushing, and says his debt has now been repaid. Akihito stares at his rival, touched by the honorable gesture, and calls his name. Akihito, moved, thanks him profusely, but Kimi shoves him away gruffly. Kimi vows he won't fall for the same trap again and is ready to proceed alone. Horrified, Akihito challenges Kimi's reckless plan to face two monsters alone. Determined, Kimi vows to succeed for Olivia, and Akihito insists that a strategy is essential. Aware that the water is a major disadvantage, Akihito asks for a moment to think. Kimi shouts there's no time as Akito frantically searches his memory for a possible skill. Finding the underwater walking skill, he says it is their only hope. Determined, he learns the skill and suggests they fight together. The samurai wolf is completely puzzled by Akihito's abrupt suggestion to work together. Akihito gains a new ability and chooses to share its power with his rival. He says they can now breathe underwater for 4 minutes, but Kimi doubts it. Akihito passionately pleads with them to join forces for Olivia's sake. Kimi studies the desperate plea, a bead of sweat betraying his proud demeanor. Determined not to drown again, Kimi holds his sword in his mouth and dives. Both rivals plunge back into the dark, monster-filled waters. Underwater, Akihito is surprised to find he can breathe easily. He admires how easily Kimi moves and calls to his new partner. Two monstrous fish tower over them, and Akihito warns they are here. The grotesque anglerfish monster gives a silent roar and charges straight at them. Kimi bravely steps in front of the beast and says he will be its opponent. A giant catfish, the second monster, lashes at Akihito with its long whiskers. Akihito cries out in alarm as the powerful monster sends Kimi flying. The giant catfish monster focuses entirely on Akihito and charges forward. Using his knife, he cuts the whiskers, only to see them grow back almost instantly. The glowing medicinal plant glimmers on the lake bed, close enough to see but out of reach. Kimiya tells Akihito to fetch the plant while he creates a much-needed distraction. Akihito senses the pressure as their time limit dwindles, only a few minutes remain. Growing increasingly frustrated, he watches the monsters constantly regrow their whiskers. A brilliant idea comes to him as he remembers his unique preparation skill. A whisker from the monster suddenly wraps around Kimiya, and Akihito calls out his name in alarm. Kimi struggles with his wrist, trapped, as Akihito promises he's on his way to help. Akihito realizes he must tangle the whiskers instead of trying to cut them. He tells Kimi to hang on a little longer as he closes in on the beast. Determined, Akihito grabs the monster's powerful slimy whisker. The creature drags Kimi helplessly toward its gaping, tooth-filled maw. The monster spins a powerful vortex to pull the struggling samurai warrior in. Kimi, caught in the swirling water, desperately hopes he can escape in time. Akihito fights the current, focused on getting to Kimi in time. The creature opens its mouth wide, poised to deliver the final fatal bite. Akihito uses his preparation skill to tie the monster's whiskers into a perfect bow. The monster releases its grip, instantly freeing Kimi. Released from the whisker, Kimi tumbles helplessly through the dark water. After finishing his task, Akihito fights with all his strength to reach the surface. Exhausted, they lie on the shore, gasping for air after somehow surviving the ordeal. Lying on the rocky ground, they are amazed they made it out alive. Clutching the cure, he knows he must get it to Olivia as quickly as possible. Back at the camp, the tent stands silent among the dark, towering trees. Inside, the precious medicinal herbs are carefully ground into a fine paste. Lying down, Olivia lets out a soft moan as her consciousness starts to come back. Relieved, the beast cheers, realizing that she's awake and the medicine worked. Kimi anxiously asks Olivia if she is okay, his voice full of concern. Still weak, Olivia looks up and sincerely thanks them for their help. She scanned the room, finally spotting Akihito and calling his name. Akihito rushes to her side, his face full of unmistakable relief. Both beam with happiness that the medicine worked. Offering a warm, reassuring smile, she tells him she's feeling fine now. He asks her not to move and to rest, and she happily agrees. Kimi studies the tender moment between them, her face thoughtful and serious. He sees her relieved smile and knows she trusts Akihito completely. Akihito praises Kimi, saying he looked cool facing the monster with his sword. Olivia says she couldn't have done it alone and expresses her heartfelt thanks. Flustered, Kimi tries to give the credit back, saying Akihito defeated the monster. Akihito smiles as a quiet understanding passes between the two rivals. Kimi mutters to himself, still flustered by the praise and friendly support. Kimi vows never to forget his face, while Akihito laughs and apologizes. Butcha and Tama teasingly point out Kimi's unreliability, leaving Akihito shocked. Reluctantly, Kimi admits Akihito was helpful, but he won't say it out loud. Akihito is moved by the samurai's reluctant praise, a faint blush rising on his cheeks. The others teased them and told the two rivals to finally get along. Cut to their quiet campsite, a simple tent tucked in the woods. Akihito studies the bowl of fruit, thinking Olivia might be able to eat some. The minions thank him for sharing and say the vitamins will help her. Akihito knows she must get better, but food alone won't guarantee her future. Remembering the storm, he realizes their life in tents is too insecure and unstable. Determined, he will do everything he can to make sure she leaves the island healthy. The minions notice his sudden seriousness and ask what is on his mind. Turning away from them for a moment, he has made up his mind about his new plan. Spinning around with a bowl in hand, he announces his ambitious plan to update the tent. Elsewhere, a cat girl wearing glasses gives a confident thumbs up. Two young boys excitedly praise their cool big brother Hirotaka. Hirotaka smirks and promises to show them what it truly means to be an adventurer. Akihito believes that if he can improve their living environment, it will help. Watching Olivia rest, he knows she really needs a better home. Determined, he stands ready to build a home to protect against every threat. His friends stare in disbelief, sweating from his sudden, intense declaration. Pointing to a large pile of logs, he says he will use what Olivia gathered. Amazed, the minions ask if he can really build a disaster-proof house. Standing before the pile of wood, he quietly thinks about the huge task ahead. The minions doubt his ambitious plan, so he questions whether he has the right skills. Needing help, he opens his status screen to consult a professional. The camera pans across the island's lush, dense forest canopy. A sweet-looking female minion appears and offers help to the savior. Akihito is immediately taken with her cuteness, while Kimi watches, unimpressed. Tama interrupts, corrects him, and says this is the real Marin. Marin's expression turns dark, and a menacing aura radiates from her. Turning into a fierce foreman, she orders everyone to build the best house. Tama explains why her personality shifted, leaving Akihito utterly speechless and bewildered. Akihito cheerfully offers to help Kimi and suggests they haul the lumber together. Kimi trips while carrying a heavy log, and Akihito says he's worried. The samurai insists he can manage alone, while Akihito warns he could fall. Irritated, Kimi snaps at Akihito over his clumsiness and tells him to be more careful. Shoving Akihito aside, he tells him to stay back if he's going to be useless. They walk in tense silence, while Akihito assumes Kimi is angry with him. Kimi fumes to himself, upset he couldn't do more for Lady Olivia. Akihito suddenly realizes today he can use his special point roulette. He spins the roulette and lands a massive 32-point jackpot, raising his total to 39. Leveling up also gave him powerful new subskills for building tents. A new gold tier appears in his food gacha, ideal for a celebration. Kimi gives him an expressionless look because his excited muttering creeps her out. Akihito eagerly explains his plan to bring tasty food to celebrate Olivia's recovery. He tells himself he just wants her to get better and be happy. Kimi listens to him as he keeps a serious, unreadable expression. The samurai asks Akihito whether he plans to live on the island with Olivia. Akihito says with regret that Olivia will return home and they cannot live together. Angry, Kimi asked why he wouldn't go with her, but Akihito said her situation was complicated. Surprisingly concerned, Kimi asks whether Akihito is truly okay with this. Akihito says he feels lonely, but Olivia's happiness matters most to him. He decides to make as many happy memories for her as he can right now. His heartfelt words leave Kimi flustered and speechless. The samurai mutters that he doesn't understand humans, leaving Akihito confused. From the woods, Buki urgently calls to Akihito. Buchi rushes over, saying Marin is in trouble and needs his help right away. Now the scene moves to their simple tent pitched at the forest's edge. Marin, the minion architect, is worried they don't have enough lumber for the house. Akihito realizes the project will take far longer because the building is so large. To speed up the assembly, the Mayans offer to add more people. A minyan struggles to hammer a large post while others hold it steady. Watching them work, Akihito suddenly gets an idea. Having a pile driver subskill, he puts it to use. He told a minion to let him take over with a heavy wooden mallet. Gripping the mallet, he prepares to use the power of his new skill. With his body enhancements, he drives the mallet down with tremendous force. A single strike drives the post deep into the ground and stuns the minions. Triumphantly, Akihito says he can now finish the work instantly and is glad to be useful. Dominion cheered, excited that the work will now go much faster. Kimi watches reluctantly, admitting that such a feat is to be expected from his rival. Akihito calls to Kimi and asks for a favor only a samurai can do. Kimi huffs and reluctantly agrees, as a nearby Mayon smiles knowingly. Standing before a large tree, Akihito holds an axe, ready to solve the lumber shortage. With a practiced, powerful motion, he swings his axe. Thanks to his camping skills, his tree-felling technique has clearly improved. A huge tree groans and starts to fall with a loud crack. Akihito asks Kimi for help, and the samurai accepts the challenge with firm resolve. Kimi draws his katana and strikes in a blur of impossibly fast slashes. Another massive tree crashes to the ground, felled by the samurai's masterful swordplay. The minions are impressed by their perfect teamwork, but Kimi shrugs off the praise. A hammer-wielding minion feels their fighting spirit ignite. Marin rallies the troops, urging them to build the whole house in a single effort. The whole minion village works together in a busy, joyful construction scene. On his break, Akihito eats with his cheerful, hardworking new friends. The scene shifts to a peaceful, star-filled night in the dark forest. Inside the tent, a figure slowly wakes from a long, deep sleep. They stretch their arms and finally wake up after days of recovery. Olivia sits up, trying to figure out how long she has been asleep. Vague, dreamlike memories linger of Akihito and Tama caring for her. Hearing a commotion, she opens the tent flap to see what is happening. Before her stands a finished log cabin and a group of cheering minions. Olivia stares in disbelief, unable to make sense of what she is seeing. Toma rushes to her side and, smiling, asks whether she is awake and feeling all right. The minions crowd around and tell her they built a safe house where she can rest. They cheerfully tell her it was entirely Akihito's idea to build the house. Olivia is moved to tears as she realizes this gift was made just for her. Her emotional moment ends abruptly when she notices something unusual. She notices two bizarre, crudely carved wooden statues of her and Akihito posed as saviors. The minions insist the statues are essential and extremely important. Relieved and happy, Akihito rushes over to see Olivia finally awake. He gently reminds her not to push herself while she's still recovering. Olivia, with tears in her eyes, asks how she could ever thank him for the house. Smiling warmly, he tells her not to worry and to just rest. Reassuring her, he says the house has two separate rooms for their privacy. Akihito proposes moving the strange statues, but the minions object loudly. A minion says it's an honor to openly praise their savior. Akihito is sweating, clearly embarrassed by the over-the-top display of affection. With her hand over her mouth, Olivia whispers that she is truly happy and very grateful. Her face lights up with joy as she says meeting everyone has made her truly happy. Akihito and the minions are moved by her heartfelt words. The minions break into cheers and announce a party to celebrate the new house. Akihito smiles, carried away by the festive, joyful mood. He offers to cook for everyone and suggests a beach barbecue with ice cream. Wanting to show her gratitude, Olivia insists on helping him cook. Now Akihito decides it's the perfect time to use his special food gacha. Choosing the gold tier, he hopes to find something truly special for the party. EBOX appears with a fine bottle of wine and a selection of snacks. He declares he's hit the jackpot as Olivia watches in wide-eyed amazement. Arriving with a bounty of fish, Toby the sea lion earns Olivia's praise for the good spot. Olivia, with her hair and pigtails, happily presents perfectly grilled fish on skewers. Everyone in the found family shares a joyful barbecue in a forest clearing. Olivia beams and says that eating with everyone is both fun and delicious. Akita watches her, quietly content to see her so happy. He tells himself that her smile is what matters most to him. A bittersweet thought hits him, and he wishes they could stay together forever. Even though he knows it's impossible, he can't stop wishing for it. A large ship appears on the distant horizon, sailing toward their island. A majestic galleon cuts through the waves, moving steadily toward the shore. From the ship's deck, the Prince of Nissel orders his men to search the islands. Staring out at the sea, he vows to find Olivia, sure she is still alive. A confident, possessive smile spreads as he says he's coming for his bride. A majestic galleon cuts through choppy seas, heading toward a distant mountainous island. High in the crow's nest, a lookout scans the shoreline through his spyglass. He sees a pack of grotesque, multi-eyed devil rats among the rocks. From high above the deck, the lookout warns of the many monsters. The Prince of Nissel is informed that no human signs can be confirmed on the island. He gives a firm order to abort the landing and steer clear of the dangerous shore. The officer tells the prince it will take several days to reach the next island. The prince regrets the delay, but trusts Olivia is waiting safely for him. With his fist clenched, he imagines the woman he loves as a frail girl, suffering alone. Clutching his chest dramatically, he is sure she expects him to rescue her. "Wait for me, Princess Olivia," he bellows bravely as his ship sails away. The royal galleon sails on across the vast, empty ocean. Meanwhile on the island, a happy Olivia asked who wanted more ice cream. Delighted minions cheer and eagerly line up for another serving. Akihito says he's had enough, so Olivia steps in to take over serving. He smiles warmly and playfully, insists on scooping the first bowl for her. Zakihito happily leads the minion, while Olivia watches him with a fond expression. Holding her bowl, she gazes at Akihito in quiet contemplation. Outside their newly built log cabin, a joyful scene unfolds. All around them, the minions blissfully enjoy their frozen treats. Buchi walks up to a thoughtful Olivia and asks what's on her mind. With a smile, Akihito says it's because of him that everyone can enjoy this wonderful time together. Olivia admits she has been relying on Akihito too much and wants to do something for him. Bochai suggests she should get him a gift in that case. Hearing present hits Olivia like lightning and makes her eyes widen. Later, a very drunk Kimmy eagerly offers Olivia a bottle of wine. Tipsy, Olivia agrees and says they should set etiquette aside for the night. From a distance, Akihito watches, pleased to see Olivia enjoying herself so freely. The next morning, Akihito stretches and admires the beautiful sky. He recalls his adventures, from meeting Olivia to fighting giant centipedes. A smile crosses his face as he realizes how steadily he and Olivia have grown closer. He was pleased he could help Olivia enjoy herself. A sudden massive boom breaks his calm, and he wishes the peace would last. Startled, he turns, sweat beading on his face as he tries to figure out what happened. He stares at a massive crater where the forest has been wiped out. Terrified, he tries to figure out what could have caused such destruction. Still drunk and unsteady, Olivia stumbles out of the cabin toward him. Grinning with a goofy, carefree smile, she asks Akihito if he'd like to have a drink with her. Akihito asks Kimmy if Olivia is drunk, but the samurai is too ashamed to answer. In a flashback, tipsy and pouting Olivia asked why Akihito would not drink with her. Declaring her sadness, she unleashes a catastrophic explosion of magical energy. A few days later, life on the island is returning to normal. Two minions greet each other and note how spacious and pleasant Akihito's room is. They step into the new log cabin, their faces full of wonder and amazement. Kimmy tells a weary Akihito what happened while he was passed out drunk. He sternly warns Akihito never to let Lady Olivia drink alcohol again. In their new home, a pot of soup bubbles on the stove. Kimmy sits at the table, fidgeting as she asks Akihito if dinner is ready. As Olivia gets ready to eat, Kimmy growls that he won't acknowledge Akihito's cooking. He suggests they find a place to settle down, but says he'll eat only today. Olivia's eyes brighten as she asks hesitantly if they can go to the cave. Akihito agrees right away, thinking a trip to the cave is a great idea. Olivia cheers as Kimmy grumbles that she should at least help with the meal. Determined, Olivia sets out to find a great gift for Akihito. Three companions stand at the dark cave entrance beside an odd cat-shaped statue. Kimmy complains the statue is not bronze, and Olivia cannot see why Akihito would like it. Inside, Akihito notices Olivia looks dazed and asks if she is all right. She asked him to wait a moment while she steadied her nerves against the darkness. Akihito gives her a gentle, understanding look. Now is the perfect time for him to use the points he's been saving. In a flash, he summons 3 powerful headlamps from his menu. Olivia marvels at the lights and says it's wonderful to have her hands free. Before going any deeper, Akihito decides to learn a new skill. Feeling confident, Olivia says they should get going. Watching her bounce with excitement, Akihito notices how upbeat she is. He warns her not to stray too far because they don't know what's ahead. Kimmy retorts that Akihito is more likely to fall into a trap. Olivia searches the cavern walls for a good gift. Not sure what he likes, she is determined to find something that will make him happy. The crude cat statue signals they are now entering the level 3 danger zone. Gripping his axe tightly, Akihito warns his companions to stay alert for monsters. From above, Olivia sees a faint glimmer of light in a dark crevice. Surprisingly graceful and agile, she starts climbing the sheer rock face. At the ledge, she finds a single, beautiful, glowing magic stone. Holding the crystal, she admires its graceful shape and the soft color of its light. Smiling contentedly, she believes it would be a perfect match for Akihito. A dark, threatening shadow suddenly falls over her from behind. From below, Akihito sees her on the ledge and calls her name. Suddenly, his face twists into a wide-eyed look of horror at what he sees. From the shadows, a monstrous skeletal spider appears behind Olivia, who doesn't notice. Startled by Akihito's cry, she turns, her expression showing pure confusion. Akihito's eye twitches as his unique ability kicks in with a sudden flash of insight. His edibility judgment shows the bone spider is poisonous and pinpoints its weakness. Spotting the vital thread, he yells at Kimmy to cut it. Kimmy roars and infuses his body with magic as he leaps into the fight. Ordering Olivia to get down, he calls the monster a foul beast. The samurai moves in a blur, hacking at the creature's limbs with his katana. High above, Kimmy warns Akihito that the monster is about to fall. Akihito steadies his stance to strengthen himself and sharpen his reactions. His axe blade gleams as he lifts it to deliver a powerful strike. Leaping down, he strikes the spider with his axe with immense force, shattering its skull. From the ledge, Olivia and Kimmy watch as the monster finally collapses. A rock slide begins, and Akihito moves quickly to shield Olivia from the falling debris. He leans over her, his headlamp smoking, and asks if she's all right. Bright headlamps shine into each other's faces, causing both to flinch. Pointing to the exposed rock wall, Kimmy asks what they have uncovered. Akihito finds a vein of pink gold rock salt and says it's a lucky find. Excited, he tells us and quiet Olivia about the delicious food they can now make. Kimmy chews contentedly on one of the spider's discarded bones nearby. Clutching her chest, Olivia admits the bone broth actually smells delicious. Feeling guilty, Olivia apologizes for her reckless behavior and for causing them trouble. Akihito snaps his fingers decisively and says he will use a new skill. Summoning a bright dimensional storage vortex, he cheerfully tells them to put everything inside. Gleefully, they toss in heavy rock salt and celebrate the convenient new power. Having stored their treasures, the group decides to leave the cave for a break. Victorious, they head back with Kimmy, carrying a bone from their big catch. A frantic Butcheye rushes toward them, shouting that something terrible has happened. Pointing in horror toward the coast, he reveals that a massive human ship has arrived. Akihito and Olivia stand in stunned silence, knowing their happy times are over.